Winners.
Welcome to another edition, a very special edition of the ROTL UK podcast, episode 109. You can't have a last dance with no kneecaps. This is the ROTL second annual awards ceremony celebrating 2021 Detroit Lions. My name's Matthew Turner, alongside my variety of co-hosts here, Ryan, and Tom. It's a great room to be a part of, boys. How are you all doing?
Very well, thank you.
Feeling underdressed compared to some.
I'm feeling on top of the world.
Oh,
Yeah,
so good.
We've been showed up because there was no dress code. I thought about a tie. I should have got it now.
Yeah, if you are listening on audio, you'll want to just have a quick look at YouTube for Ant's outfit. It is spectacular. I spent a good 5 minutes just laughing before we came on air, so that's a good one. We are going to kick off with a little bit of news just before we do get into the awards, so let's crack on with that. The Detroit Lions Senior Bowl team is now confirmed. The college podcast on Wednesday is going to go in for a rundown of our defensive options. They had a look at the offense last week. And Ryan, what's the highlights? What's your big takeaways so far from that?
Go on, Ryan.
That I prefer a lot of the other groups. My biggest takeaway is that I wanted a lot of the Jets positional groups, but defensively, I've seen it. I'm very happy with who we've got to work with because we've got some great defensive groups. I'd say we won the battle there, which for me is what counts. So it's going to be very interesting. We'll break down the defensive, but there's certainly the quarterbacks. We certainly got the ones we wanted. This fit this kind of mold of what we're looking for. 3 different stylistic matchups. So it's going to be very interesting. Some people don't want a quarterback, but it can't be ruled out now. I think with who we've taken, there's a strong consideration that they're all going to be there at the Rams pick. So who knows what's going to happen? We'll see how good we get a look at them.
Yeah, kind of annoyed we missed out on a lot of the top guys there first. But thinking about it, there's a lot of the guys we don't really know about in this draft. We know a lot about the top prospects already, so this might find us some nice late round guys at the end of the draft or in UDFA. So I'm all for it. We'll see what happens.
There we go. So join us for that on Wednesday. Another little bit of really good news, actually. Hopefully, the Denver Broncos have announced, there is an expectation as to who their head coach finalists are, and that's Cowboys defensive coordinator Dan Quinn, Eagles DC Jonathan Gannon, and Packers OC Nathaniel Hackett, per Broncos insider Benjamin Albright. If that's true, it means that Aaron Glenn hasn't made it to the finalists, and as it stands with no further interviews, it looks like he is set to be here for another year. And I think, while we all thought that perhaps a head coaching interview here or there was deserved, considering what we thought was going to happen with the defense and what actually happened, I think, at least for myself, I'm extremely happy that it looks like he's set to stay. How about you guys? Any kind of disappointment that you didn't make it a bit further off for him on a personal level?
No, glad he's staying. I think year one was always going to be a tough proposition. He's only had 1 year in the job. The defense statistically wasn't the best in there, and there are a lot of good coordinators around this year in the coaching cycle. I think this time in 12 months we'll need to be worrying a lot more about him, but it's good for us. We get another year of him, another year Aubrey Present learning under him, the young defenders learning under him, and hopefully take some big steps forward this year and we get some good defensive names in the draft.
I was never worried about him leaving.
No, exactly. There's a lot of other good other good coaches out there that deserve another crack, whether it be Leslie Frazier or Todd Bowles. So, maybe in a year or two we will be worried, but right now he stays where he is and continues the good work he started.
Yeah, it's too much of a gamble, I think. If you were another franchise and you don't watch him as kind of religiously as us, then fans, I think, would be a bit like, why are we getting this guy from the Lions? The only one that I thought could be a threat and still could be a threat is the Saints, just because obviously they know everything he's about. But let's hope Sean Payton stays in that role and it's roll on 2022.
Yeah, that rumour's absolutely mad, isn't it? That he's going to be, is it joining, who is it that's leaving to join Amazon potentially? So he's apparently going in. The rumor is he's going into the broadcast booth to replace former. He's a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Troy Aiken.
Yeah.
Aikman, yeah.
So yeah, Aikman's potentially going to Amazon, and they want him to replace Aikman.
Oh God, I don't listen to Sean Payton on Sundays. Oh, that sounds dreadful.
Oh yeah, Ash has just confirmed that independently in the Twitch chat, so that's helpful. Thanks for doing that, man. Right, let's just quickly discuss potentially one of the best weekends in football I've seen in a long time, compared to the wildcard round, which was some of the most disappointing football. All of the games interesting, all of the games within 3 points or overtime. Tight, gritty defensive affairs on Saturday, and then just balmy, bonkers nonsense on offense on the Sunday. What did you guys think? So let's start off with first game, which was Bengals Titans early on the Saturday, finished up 19-16 in favour of the Bengals. And I don't know about you guys, but the Bengals are the team that I've kind of secretly been pulling for. First overall pick, was it last year? 2 years ago, but Burrow's first year was last year. It sort of resembles the team that I kind of hope that we could be 2 years from now. But that in 2023, this could be the Lions right now. And so, if they can go all the way, then, we could just be sort of that number one overall pick quarterback away from going the distance. I don't know. What do you guys think of this game and the Titans' number one overall seed falling early?
I'd hope that we weren't letting our QB be sacked 9 times a game. I know that much. How they managed to let him get hit that many times and still win is a bit of a mystery, but Titans really screwed up here. I don't think the bye week really helps. I know they got the guys back, but Bengals were on a roll. First playoff win. They're rejuvenated by that, and then they just go and they look really full of confidence, don't they? So, it's going to be a good championship game for them and grab, but, they're going to get Burrow killed sooner rather than later. They really need to defend him this year. Otherwise, this newfound success is going to be really, really short-lived.
I don't know how many times they've cost me money this year, the Titans, with, some strange calls on offense. I don't know who their offensive coordinator is, but I don't know if he'll be in a job much longer because, of all the talent they've got there in that team, I just don't think they get the best out of the players that are available to them. So, I think, very strange. Like you said, 9 sacks, that's amazing. That is absolutely unbelievable. So, I don't see them getting the better in the next round at all. But, strange things have happened this year. So who knows?
They laid some eggs throughout the season, to be honest, the Titans. I don't think they were a locked on 1 seed by any means. Obviously, the Chiefs started really poorly and then they lost late to the Bengals. I think it was the penultimate week of the season. So Titans weren't exactly a deserving 1 seed, I don't think. And it was a bit of a kind of slow game. But yeah, I agree. Bengals and Bills that we'll come on to, they're the 2 teams that I was kind of rooting for in the playoffs.
Ryan Tannehill just proved everything I knew about him. He's a glorified game manager, and I've always said it. He literally gets carried by a run game and a defense. And when those 2 things don't align, he can't win a game on his own. And he very rarely does. He is better than average, and they won't win anything as long as he's at the helm. Like I say, because Henry clearly wasn't ready for a full workload with the plates in his foot. He should have seen more Devonta Foreman because that would have probably got them further down the line. It was just, you saw it coming. You saw they were going to run out of steam. Bengals, I agree. It's great to see Joe Mixon having a breakout year, which is weird because he's only 25, but he feels about 40 because he's been around forever. But he is one of the best backs in the league when he's fit on his day, and he is taking a lot of pressure off when needs be. Bengals are dangerous. I predicted a Packers-Bengals final, so only one half can get there now, but I think it's their year. It really is their year to make the Super Bowl, and I can't believe that.
Yeah, I was really surprised that Donta Foreman didn't just get the workload. I know that King Henry is this sort of mythological creature at this point, but Foreman kind of came in late on in the season and just looked like a bulldozer. You know, his running was incredible. I was like, they're just not missing him. They're not missing Henry at all. And then Henry comes in and practically ruins it. And then Donta Foreman comes in and does really well. Like, whenever he touched the ball, it looked like things were happening for Tennessee. So I think they just got it wrong. They made a risky call that they potentially didn't need to make, that they could have brought in Henry as RB2 as a sort of change of pace back to kind of get him a few touches in for the next game where he might take RB1. But they took a gamble and they lost. And they didn't need to.
I think the Bengals have had a really good run defense all year, though. We saw it when we played them. We were just able to get nothing going on the ground whatsoever. And before, Foreman ripped off that 60-yard run or whatever it was later on in the game, they'd had really nothing before that. And as has already been said, when you take that run game away from Ryan Tannehill, then, he suffers. And he threw 3 picks. And he looked every bit the average quarterback that he is that's been protected by a better team. And you think with all those weapons and that, he should be doing a lot better. And throwing a pick first play of the game just does not set the tone. Bengals just completely took over afterwards, really, and just carried on the momentum from last week. Those bye weeks, I don't rate them.
First play of the first half, first play of the second half, interceptions, just awful, backbreaking stuff from the Titans. And that was the number 1 seed falling. So then the Bills-Chiefs game, the winner of that is going to be hosting the AFC Championship game, having played that game on Sunday. But looking at the other Saturday game, that's all the other number 1 seed Green Bay Packers against the San Francisco 49ers. And from the last, I think you know exactly what happened with that. A 13-10 win for San Francisco. A San Francisco side that did not score points on offense, which is just incredible, isn't it? The Packers scored a touchdown in the first 6 minutes. Like, I can't say they didn't score any more offensive points in the game. You're talking about over the last 2 years, the offense is probably the number 1 overall offense in all of football. And San Francisco's defense is good, but Robert Saleh left in the off-season, and everyone talked coming into this year that it isn't what it was. Let's not forget that the Detroit Lions in week 1 put 34 points on this team. And San Francisco scored 13 in Lambeau and won the game. I mean, it was kind of an awfully brilliant game, if you know what I mean. Like, just so beautifully terrible to watch. And, I mean, the thing is, if you actually had a look at what happens, they really got their running backs going. The name of the bruising running back that I've completely forgotten the name of.
A.J. Dillon.
That's the one. Dillon was pretty productive, and Devontae Adams was pretty productive. Like, it wasn't like they were doing particularly badly, just in the sort of key crucial moments on 3rd down, they were failing, and then they were punting and not trying to go for it on 4th down, even on 4th and short, they weren't really risking it. And in the end, I think a lack of ambition on the part of the Green Bay Packers and San Francisco just being opportunistic saw them fall, and maybe that is the end of the Green Bay Packers as we know it.
The special teams cost them every single point. They've had a bad special team since we last won a playoff game. It's just something that they've never ever fixed. And the muffed punt, they just looked terrible when they did that, and it rolled in. Then towards the they missed a field goal at the end of the first half. Special teams matter, and it's critical. You can have the best team in the world, but if you don't have the special teams to back them up in those key games where you're maybe not firing on all cylinders like they were this time, it's going to show. And I think ultimately, end of the day, that's what did it. Packer 49ers special teams won it for them, and the Packers ones lost it. But I mean, what was funny for me is now the curse of not beating the Lions this season is complete. You can't do a last dance, Aaron Rodgers, with no kneecaps, and you lost to Dan Campbell, you lost your kneecaps, and you fell at the first opportunity. Every team that couldn't beat us this year either didn't make the playoffs in the Vikings phase, they either got absolutely walloped in the wild card, or you had to wait for Green Bay till this round, and they looked as bad as they've looked all year. It's a curse, and it's real.
There's something very special about watching football at Lambeau, though, when it's snowing, I must say. When you talk about like a gritty game and that kind of thing, and the fact that then the Packers went out as a result, it was a work of art. I think the DVOA performance for their special teams was the worst of any game or any team in this season so far. So it was an absolute disgrace. I think Rodgers parking everything off field has been it's been a bit unfair. Some of the criticism he's got in terms of playoff games in the past, especially recently. But there was a few situations in this game. I think late on, he went deep to Devontae Adams when he was double or triple covered. And Alan Lazard's there, like wide open, 30 yards downfield, which would have kept their drive going. It's stuff like that where, given his talent level, you don't expect that mistake from him, let's say.
I think it's an absolute miracle. The 49ers are a game away from the Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo. He is so bad. He's
so
such
bad.
a bad quarterback. Like, I can't believe they've got this far. Like, he's the biggest fraud in the playoffs, and the dude is a bum. He might be good looking, but he's not the best quarterback. Like, but he just seems like kryptonite. Like I said, the less he touches the ball, the better they do. I couldn't believe that Green Bay let that go. But their list of pending free agents is ugly. Like, they're going to be limited. They're already $44 million over the cap, and they've got a long list of players that they can't retain. So they are going to be chopping deadwood next year. They're going to be in a lot of trouble.
They've been complaining for absolutely years that the road to the NFC Championship game never ran through Lambeau. They always had to go away from home. Yet they've had 2 years in a row now where they've had home advantage. They've lost to warm climate teams in really bad weather, where they're meant to be at their best. It's kind of funny in a way. They've been asking for it for so long, and yet they don't like playing at home in the playoffs at all.
Yeah, just so funny. I know, Ryan, you were massive on laughing at this Green Bay team. What did you think on this?
Yeah, it was just hilarious, to be brutally honest. It was a great way to start your Sunday. So it was absolutely beautiful having my sausage and bacon, and just watching that was wonderful, to be honest, because I caught up with it in the morning. But yeah, they got a bit lucky, San Francisco, in certain areas. I mean, Garoppolo should have been picked off at least twice from what I can remember. And probably, as I think they said in the commentary, taken back for a pick six. They were like up for grabs, but yeah, San Francisco just showed that if you battle and you stick with things, that luck can go your way. And obviously with the block punt and everything like that, and they found a way to win. So, all credit to them at the end of the day. And Packers, with that advantage at Lambeau Field, that's the whole point of getting the number one seed, is so it goes through Green Bay, and they've shit the bed twice now. So thank God for that. We ain't got to listen to their shit for another year. And hopefully, like you say, the rebuild there is going to take some time, because I don't think they've got the quarterback in reserve there in Love at all. I don't think he's going to be anything to really worry about going forward either.
You love to see it. Sorry. So, yeah, AFC Championship game now runs through Arrowhead. So that is going to be the Bengals at the Chiefs, which is, I can't wait for it. It's two of the best quarterbacks in the league. They're going to, some of the best receiving cores in the league. Not too much to write home about on the defense for the Bengals. Chiefs have shown up at times through the season. Had a long stretch of being the best defense in the league, actually. So God knows what's going to happen. Sunday then kicked off with a bang. So Rams, Bucks, and I will say I picked all four away teams, and I was fairly confident that was going to come in. And through two, I was quite happy. And then the way the Rams came out, I mean, I thought that they would edge a tight one. I didn't think they were going to go up 27-3. I mean, Brady looked shell-shocked. I don't know what it is about Brady sometimes, but when he goes off the boil, sometimes it's like... Rodgers does exactly the same. When they go off the boil, it's awful. Like, the chemistry just isn't there. The timing's completely off. And through three quarters, this game was dead, buried, done, wrap it up, But Brady finds a way. Brady always finds a way. And, from 27-3 down, and even with 4 minutes to go, it was a 14-point game. And Tampa tied up at 27-all. It's insane. And then Stafford does what Stafford does to win the game. 40 seconds left and a timeout. That's an age and a day for number 9. What did you guys make of the game? I know that Ant was pulling massively for the Bucks to pull it off, especially 14 down with 4 minutes to go. You would have, I dare say, not that you would have been happier about this game than the Green Bay loss, but I think it would have been close.
I wanted them both to lose, in fairness. Okay, I'd just like to clarify this. I love Matt. This is nothing to do with staff. I'm really happy he's got his second win there. I just hate Sean McVay. And he's had his ass saved by him for this one. If they'd lost that super team he's created there and all the capital they've put into it, a lot of questions would have come out about his coaching. And I mean, the last quarter of that game, he coached atrociously. I mean, you saw there where the problems, like a lot of the problems, like wasn't all Jared Goff, Sean McVay's inability to come up clutch when it matters, like it did in the Super Bowl. So it was, I would have loved to see the Bucks put off, but at the same time, it's a double-edged sword. I'm really happy for Matthew getting through to the championship game. He does deserve all the success in the world. He can't help it that his head coach is a weasel who I don't like. So I'm going to continue to root against them, but if he gets the Super Bowl win, I couldn't be any more happier for him. He does absolutely deserve it, but I just really don't like the Rams and I really don't want them to win. But, fair play to them. Stafford came through clutch in the end. They built a big enough lead where it didn't really matter. But I mean, you'd feel like a fully healthy Bucks team would have won that. They missed Tristan Wirfs really badly. Their line was banged up. And if they'd have just held them in check just a tiny bit more, you feel that would have been the Bucks game to win. So they've had a little bit of luck along the way with them being so banged up. But it's going to be interesting now next week. They're playing against a team they do not like in the 49ers. They've not won in the last 6 against them. It's going to be interesting to see if McVay can alter his scheme and finally put this one to bed and get the better of this 49ers team. And I'm not like rooting against them again. Every time you call them out and you say that they're going to fail, they surprise you. So it's going to be an interesting final, let's say that way.
I think this game, this was the Von Miller game. He had one of the best games I've seen in a long memory for him. As you mentioned, no Tristan Wirfs, and their right tackle, Josh Wells, got hurt as well. So on the edges, they were seriously depleted, and it showed. Miller tagged Brady at least 5 times. I will say on the unsportsmanlike conduct, I thought Brady had a serious case because Miller definitely hits him late and he hits him under the chin. But he did go shouting in the ref's face. So he drew the flag, but I felt like he had a strong case there. It was 3 great quarters. Everyone else did their best impression to try screw Stafford. Like you say, you had the fumble that 1 yard line. Then you had, I felt sorry for Cam Akers. He had a rough day, coughing those 2 balls up. Then the turnovers, the bad snap, like everything was going against him. He just felt like it wasn't going to be their day. And then you get the that crazy minute where you had the interception, the fumble, a bad snap. They traded the ball back 3 times. It was ridiculous. I agree. Sean McVay, awful. Like I say, he had like 2 drives where he was trying to kill the game, and he took a total of about 23 seconds off the clock between punting because he just took the ball out of Stafford's hands because he didn't trust him whatsoever. Gave it to the backs who were getting gobbled up in the middle. They weren't even inventive runs. Then the Bucks were stopping the clock. Everything they were doing their power to give them chances. And in the end, they really did survive, like 2 beautiful routes from Cooper Kupp and the vision of Stafford to just hang in there, take a shot, get it downfield, get it clocked. And I agree next week, 0-6, like that they're going to be more 49ers fans, I think, than LA fans. I've already said like last time, they're having to go with a silent count as well. So it's going to be loud. You're not going to hear anything. So it's going to be a really interesting game. Let's see if McVay can get this monkey off his back and beat the 49ers. But there's going to be some bad blood next week.
Obviously, the final game was an incredible ending we'll get to again. I thought it was a perfect exhibition of why American football is such a good sport. Because obviously there was some incredible play, incredible athleticism, etc. But then you have a team that's so far ahead, and there's only so many sports where teams can crumble under that kind of pressure, and so many kind of random plays can happen in terms of fumbles and swapping field position in quite that way. It just doesn't seem to happen in other sports. And even a good friend of mine who kind of watches a little bit of American football, and he was watching this game, he was like, I can't believe there's a sport where you have to worry about tying the game and not giving the other team enough time to go and score the other end. Because we were all watching it saying, like, this is Stafford's bread and butter. If you give him time, he's going to go and win it. I just thought it was such a great kind of encapsulation of American football. And personally, I was actually rooting for the Bucks towards the end, because as soon as there's an underdog kind of story, I dive heavily into it. yeah, I will be rooting for Stafford in the championship game.
Yeah, like Tom said, I never had so many people kind of WhatsApp me or text me about like who were watching the game. I was quite surprised at the amount of people that were actually tuning into it. And, obviously, what was it? He done 34 or so winning drives for us, Stafford, that mad season we had all those years ago when he kept on bringing us back from the depth and everything like that. So you kind of had a funny feeling that with Cooper Kupp out there, he could easily find the magic to get him down the field. And obviously, it was a game that had absolutely everything. It had some great defensive plays. It had a bit of needle. I even enjoyed when Sue and Stafford kind of went at it a little bit, but I've always had a bit, it was just a great game to watch. It was just, I was just sitting there, just watching it, not over like analysing it, just enjoying it and for what it was, and it was great. It was just a really, really good game. And who was to know that an even better game was to follow? So it was just an amazing weekend, really.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like with Sue, he got in Stafford's face, and I kind of thought, although he's amped up, like, you're going to lose your team this game. And they kept talking about it on the broadcast all the way through. But then who turns up but this bad motherfucker punching the ball out with 4 minutes to go to get the ball? Not even that. So they're 14 points down, scored a touchdown, and then forced the fumble with 2.5 minutes to go. And the thing about Sue is that he was a prick, but he was our prick for so long, and you just wanted him on your team. Like, they perfectly encapsulated why I absolutely adored that man. And, it was such a good game. Like, as soon as they scored to tie it up with 40 seconds to go, I just knew that the Rams would win that game, because Stafford, it's been talked about all the way through the season. He's leading the league in interceptions, and he can just have the odd meltdown here or there. But it never happens when it matters most. It doesn't happen in the fourth quarter. Doesn't happen in overtime. Like, he's the highest rated quarterback in the fourth quarter this season by some stretch. He's also the highest rated quarterback under pressure this season. Like, the guy's made of steel. We knew that. Now they all know that. But they all know that to dunk on the Lions while they're doing it, which is just fucking frustrating. But anyway.
I do agree with what Ant said. Like, in terms when it comes to McVay, is that you do get that feeling that he kind of does lose faith in his quarterbacks. I mean, you wouldn't ever put Goff down as like a gunslinger or whatever, but technically Matthew Stafford is pretty much, that. He's going to always take shots. He's always going to fire one in there. And, to kind of like take that away from Stafford, I mean, you're kind of losing what you brought in, in the first place, someone who can get you down the field. So, I just the confidence of that he is like kind of brings onto the pressure he kind of puts onto his quarterbacks, I think is definitely unfair and a little bit strange as well, because he done it the other week as well. Can't remember if it was in the regular season or even in the other playoff game, but he definitely makes a bad call on that, I think.
Well, yeah. Look at when the Bills beat the Patriots last week. They got up high, but they didn't stop. They kept being aggressive and going at them. They ended up just crushing them. You've got to carry on being aggressive in games. You just can't allow yourself to become too defensive, because it just doesn't work. I don't know when teams are going to learn this. You've got to be, the Bills did it right last week.
The thing is, if you play the chess match, you should absolutely line up as if you're going to do what they expect you to do, which is run the ball. They'll set out to stop the run, and then you pass. Like, it can't be that hard, right? Like, just play action them to hell. Like, it's just going to work. But I don't understand why teams don't do it. Ash in the Twitch chat has just said, with regard to what you were saying about it being pretty loud in SoFi for the 49ers, that the Rams apparently are restricting ticket sales just to upper LA area people only, so that the Niners fans don't dominate the stadium. So unless you live in the upper LA area, you're not going to get tickets.
There's no Rams fair either, though. There's no Rams fans there either.
You're right, because when I was there, they pumped noise in. They pumped noise into the stadium. The Rams nailed on 1,000,000% to do it. Everyone said it. So they're going to be at it again, obviously, on Sunday.
I think the worst part about that as well was I'm pretty sure that notice went out in like the second quarter of this game or something. When they took like a big lead, it was like they were putting this out. I saw it on Twitter during the game, And then that comeback started. I was like, that would just be delicious if they ended up losing, having put out ticket warnings.
Yeah, right. So that means that the NFC Championship game runs through SoFi. That's the 49ers at the Rams. And if the Rams win, they'll be going back there for the Super Bowl. So back-to-back games at home potentially for the Rams, which could be an interesting way to finish it off considering their lack of fans in that area as well. And as it was being mentioned earlier, the weekend finished off with the best game of the lot, the Bills and the Chiefs. The Chiefs pulling it off 42-36 in the most mazy game I've seen in some time. The Bills look to have done it, really, for large parts. And then the Chiefs, with a minute to go, get a touchdown to go 4 in front. And the Bills get the ball with 1:06 to go. And go the length of the field in 50 seconds, leaving just 13 on the clock, with 3 points in the lead. And somehow Mahomes with 13 seconds and no timeout? I can't remember. I think it was no timeouts.
One.
One
Yeah,
timeout.
one. Yeah.
Manages to get a field goal from that position. All of the talk on Twitter about lack of awareness in terms of playing on defense, if you beat, just haul them down. Just hold. Before the ball's in the air, you get beat, just tackle them to the ground, because it's like you've only got to kill one play, you're probably home and dry. But KC pulled off 2 great plays, kicked the field goal, won the coin toss, got a touchdown, won the game. And all the way through, it was an absolute clinic of 2 quarterbacks at the top of their game who are only going to get better. Josh Allen, probably my favourite quarterback in the league, and Mahomes, probably the best quarterback in the league, especially about putting the game on his shoulders, because I think at some point in this game he was 3 rushes for 70 yards or something insane. What did you boys make of this one?
Just unbelievable. It's one of the best games I've ever seen in my life, if not the best I've ever seen. I thought it was just spectacular, and if you had to show a game to try and get someone in love with the NFL, that's surely got to be one of the games that you'd pick, because it was just had everything. 2 amazing quarterbacks that, I think they said in the commentary of the game, these guys look like they're going to be going at it for a very long time. And this they can meet each other again next year with ease and everything like that. So I don't know what to say. I mean, so many players had great games. The wide receiver for the Bills was just phenomenal, 4 touchdowns.
Gabriel Davis, yeah.
Gabriel Davis. I mean, it was just phenomenal. I mean, you had players go out for injury. Maybe that might have affected the Bills a little bit, Tyrann Mathieu and everything like that. But, it was spectacular. I'm sure, you can pick up on a bit of bad defending here and there, but I really just thought it was a wonderful game and just great to watch it. Just really enjoyed it.
Yeah, Gabriel Davis was an absolute monster. He ran penultimate touchdown, I think it was. He ran a corner post, and it was like someone had just pushed the DB over. It was incredible. I think other than maybe the Vikings game this year, when they scored that touchdown with 13 seconds left, that was the most I've kind of fist pumped and celebrated all season, because I'm a big Josh Allen fan, and I wanted that kind of Bills-Bengals game for the AFC as well. So I was pretty gutted. And I like Pat Mahomes, but for example, I hate Tyreek Hill. There's lots of reasons you can Google as to why that is. And seeing him put the peace sign up after the taunting rule came in because someone else put it to him, there was lots of things that made me kind of go against the Chiefs. So yeah, I was pretty gutted, to be honest, when it all unfolded. But the level of quarterback play was just out of this world. It's as good as I've seen, because we've seen clinics with Brady and others, but this is where you've got not only a clinic in how to play the game, but with physical tools that even the 1% of NFL quarterbacks have as well. So combine those, it was just incredible.
I was gutted for the Bills. Do you know what? I'm bored of the Chiefs already. I don't want to see a dynasty or this period of domination. I like Mahomes, but I don't want another team to have things all their own way. So I was gutted by this result. Comes down to really fine margins this game. You could question, should they have kicked the ball to them and let them return it? Because you never know what happens on a kickoff. I don't think they should have kicked out the end zone. There's things like that where you give them that free startage. Like you say, you don't give good quarterbacks, say, good field position or lots of time to work with. And he didn't really have both, but it's a nice play to start at the 25-yard line. Josh Allen, he's right up there with me. He's like top 3 quarterbacks in the league. Like, he, for his size, his weight, and his strength, moves like a ballet dancer when he wants to. Like, he has got that raw size, speed, everything. Like, I would kill to have that guy. And it's amazing to think that coming out of Wyoming, that people didn't rate him that highly. Like, he just went under the radar and is doing great things. I like the Bills. Let's say they've got great defense, but this was a clash for the ages. Now, I'm not one of those people that is complaining about the overtime rules, because they've been like this way for absolutely ever. And it only ever gets complained about when you get a game like this. No overtime, anyone cares. They didn't win because of a coin toss. Like I say, offense, defense win championships, not coin toss. It's luck of the draw gets the ball first. You don't want them to score, stops them. It's simple as that. Like, so it was a shame that it had to end like that with Allen not even getting the ball, but he took it on the chin really well, where he said, like, I'll just take that one. They won fair and square, got the ball, they scored, there's nothing I can do about it. So he showed real maturity, because I'd have been upset. I'd have been really upset by that, but these two are going to run the league for years to come. Football is in the safest hands I've seen in a long time, because there's like 7 guys out there that are all Super Bowl caliber quarterbacks. And it's just great to see them going off against one another.
Well, I don't know about being annoyed. I'd be downright pissed with the team for, throwing away. He's made 2 clutch throws in the last 2 minutes to get his team in front or bring them back, and they've wasted it. The fact that they didn't kick to the Chiefs and make them return it is, to me, unreal. Pat Mahomes threw 44 times that night. There wasn't one single pass defended by the Bills team. They couldn't deal with the pass. So why you would give him more time and more opportunity to throw on you when your defense is just not doing its job properly and defending the pass is beyond me. This Bills team is good, but they don't have it. They don't have the X factor to get through these tough situations. They've finally wrestled the league from the Patriots. They won big against them in the wild card game, but what's happened now? They've lost a game that they should have won in the divisional game, and their season's done. They've wasted 2 years of prime Josh Allen. They didn't play well last year. They've thrown away a game this year. The team's not going to be this good forever. There are times when he's going to struggle, and the Patriots are going to get better, and they're going to do better in that league again. And I think the Bills really wasted an opportunity here. I think that defense was awful. It did not get to Pat Mahomes. It did not stop him passing the ball. It didn't come up when they needed him to. And, overtime be damned. They shouldn't have let it get to overtime. It should not have got to overtime. Whoever made the call to kick it into the end zone should be fired for that. Those are season-changing calls, and it was completely the wrong one. But, it was a fantastic game, and I agree the 2 quarterbacks are absolutely amazing, but the Bills really messed up here. And that could cost them in the long run, because somewhere along the line, beating the Patriots, it's just not enough. They've got to start winning things, and they're not doing that.
Yeah, the thing is about the Bills' defensive line is I was actually really impressed by their performance, because the Chiefs' O-line, after drafting Creed Humphreys and, is it Banks? Aaron Banks was his name? Guard? No.
Trey Smith.
That's
Trey
49ers.
Smith. Yes, sorry, Trey Smith, yes. They've completely changed their fortunes. Their O-line last year got shown up in the Super Bowl, and they've drafted 2 absolute world beaters in there as rookies. It's one of the best offensive lines in football. And I thought the Bills' defensive line had a good deal of success getting pressures on Pat Mahomes, forcing him out the pocket. The problem was that they played quite a lot of man coverage, which allowed Pat Mahomes to escape the pocket upwards and forward for many yards. It was just one of those things where Mahomes was just in complete control of his environment, even though I think it was one of the most times he's been pressured all season. So, the Bills, I thought, did a good job on the D-line. It's just everything else that fell to bits, perhaps.
They choked at the main point. That's the thing.
Yeah.
They're not going to get the league this easy every year. They're really going to rue this one, I think, because don't forget, Herbert and the Chargers are coming. Burrow and the Bengals are coming. The AFC is incredibly tough now, especially if you want to get to the Super Bowl. Josh Allen ain't the only good quarterback over there. There are a lot of really good young guys, and competition's going to be fierce. You've seen it this year.
Yeah, so you've got Herbert, Burrow, Mahomes, Allen, all in one conference. Like, that's just ridiculous. It's not fair, is it, on the AFC? Like, you have a look at Pittsburgh now, and they're going to try and salvage a good roster by replacing Roethlisberger, and it's like, oh, what's the point? You got no chance. Like, anyway, sorry.
As I say, it looks a lot better than the quarterback slated to start our division next year, for sure.
True. Right. I think it's time. Should we do it?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's go.
It's the time you've all been waiting for. If you're here, probably my favourite moment of the season. We're going to kick it off. The second annual Roar the Lions UK award ceremony celebrating 2021 Detroit Lions. And we've got 15 separate awards, many of which replicate the awards that you find at the NFL level. But we're going to celebrate the best of the Detroit Lions this season. The final 2 awards will be the ones that you, the public, voted for as well. So stay tuned for that. We're going to kick things off with Anthony Fitzpatrick and Game of the Year. And
What up, there, all listeners? This is the start of the Roar of the Lions annual season awards. And as Matt says, we are doing the Game of the Year first. So the candidates we had for this one, we had the 49ers game week 1, the comeback that nearly was, but unfortunately we just came up a little bit short. We have the Vikings game in week 13, our first win of the season, and the look of watching Kirk Cousins slope off the pitch as we beat him healed my soul. I really enjoyed that. Then we had the blowout win against the Cardinals in week 15, probably, one of the best performances in a very long time, that one was. And then finally, we round it out with the week 18 victory over the Packers again. Doing it against their first string for a lot of it, and it was a really tough, gritty performance by the Lions to come back and win that one. And, with that all said, all of these very worthy candidates, but in the end, we went with the fair blowout win over the Arizona Cardinals, because I believe, that is probably the result we saw coming the least. We're top of the NFC. They were looking pretty damn good, and we absolutely wrecked them. So, great choice there. Arizona Cardinals, Game of the Year.
I'm a little surprised.
yeah, I know. I was really surprised. So...
No.
For performance of the year, 100%. But for Game of the Year, I thought it would be a shoo-in for the Vikings.
Yeah.
No,
yeah, I'm with you, Tom. I went Vikings.
I went Cardinals. I love sticking it to Cliff Kingsbury. Having another second season meltdown, unbeaten on the road. Think the lowly little pathetic Lions are going to wimp in, have their little kitten bellies tickled, roll over. Oh no, that I loved it, every second of it. I felt so smug because I hate Cliff Kingsbury. I can't wait till he gets fired.
I'm on that train as well. I feel like the kind of energy that Ant sends towards Sean McVay is my kind of Cliff Kingsbury energy. Just can't stand him. Don't know why.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure we had that game as like widest defeat margin as well. So we were all expecting to get a proper good kick in that day. And like you say, they hadn't lost on the road all season long. And yeah, we just came out and played, man. I think it was just our performance, not so much what they done, as well. But when we made a mistake, we bounced back and got the ball back, with the interception and everything like that. It was just a really, really strong Detroit Lions performance, and one that I think that we're going to get used to seeing over the next couple of years, definitely. Well, for the tenure of this staff.
Yeah, I mean, so for me, I was so shocked that the Packers game did not receive a vote.
It's got an asterisk by it, though.
It does.
They didn't play the team all game. I mean, we were beating them in the first game of the season at half, and then they sort of ruined us in the second. So,
yeah, that's fair. But at the same time, it's beating the Packers. I don't care how it happened. We beat their their starters as much as they had, with as many starters as we had, which was probably, we were more depleted than they were. They were still trying. They had their 2 best players on the field. Like, it's one of those things that I'm staggered by. I still went for the Vikings because nothing beats that feeling of, well, Dan Campbell getting his first win and us beating them straight up. Like, we deserve to win that game. First, just been lucky and hung in there, that fully deserved it. The way the celebration happened, just everything about that game, we controlled the whole thing, and that really got me. But the Cardinals game was spectacular in a completely different way. I mean, we didn't give them a sniff. They had no chance. So, yeah, there we go. I have just forgotten I actually have to tweet these as they're going out, so I'm just doing that now.
And don't worry, Matt, like next year, the performance of the year will be against the Packers when we smash them by about like 40 points or something like that. So
To win the division.
Exactly. There you go.
Oh.
I'm beginning to get concerned about Ryan. It feels like there's a doppelganger in the room. You have never said this many positive things in 2 years of doing this.
I know, we're back now. We're back. The Lions.
Love it.
We're on the right track now. I can feel it.
Love it.
All right. Time to go with award number 2. And this one's my one. And it is the play of the year. And the nominees are the fake punt pass by Jack Fox to Bobby Price against the LA Rams, Tom Kennedy's trick play 75-yard passing touchdown to Khalif Raymond against Green Bay, and Amon-Ra St. Brown's walk-off touchdown against the Minnesota Vikings as time expires to win the game from behind. And the winner hang on. I've done the wrong bloody graphic as well. Whoops. The winner is Amon-Ra's walk-off touchdown versus the Minnesota Vikings. For all the reasons I described earlier, that euphoric feeling of sweet relief, perhaps, that we got over the line, his celebration going to the sideline, Goff running up and almost headbutting Dan Campbell before telling him to get back out there and celebrate. The reaction of the fans, those that were there, and as Ant was saying, Cousins losing too. Like, it was just something fantastic.
In 5 years' time, when we're doing successfully in the postseason, we're getting playoff wins, we're challenging for titles, we will look back on that play as when the Dan Campbell era started. I reckon. Yeah, I know you said there we'd had so many missed calls, we'd nearly got there, but that one throw revitalized the entire team. We went 3-3-1 to end the season after that. The team learned how to start winning games, and that was the first, phase of that. And next year, that's going to be so critical. Just coming up in those clutch situations to win a game for Goff, for Amon-Ra. Both of them look rejuvenated after that play. And I think, as I say, in 5 years, we'll look back on it as the turning point where we finally left the period of past disappointment behind us.
Were there any votes for other players?
Yeah, Khalif Raymond's pass got 1 out of the 7.
Okay.
But I don't know why I did the wrong graphic. Which is not the thing you want to do. So I'm just changing it now. So
I hope you haven't already posted the award to the wrong address.
No, not yet.
Okay, good.
You guys talk about the play amongst yourselves for a minute. Give me a second.
I was a little tempted to go for, I didn't, but I was tempted to go for the Rams fake punt. The reason being, so the right answer is the Amon-Ra touchdown for all the reasons discussed. But I think that was the play all season that made me kind of go like, oh shit, this is going to happen. We're doing something today. We're making something happen, because it'd been a pretty bland season up to that point. It'd been lots of heartbreak. And that was the first time that Campbell really came out front foot, lots of like hyper aggressive play calling, which isn't just going for a 4th down. It's pulling tricks out the bag. And it just gave like a whole new set of energy, I think, to the team, or as in terms of from a fan standpoint. We're kind of getting our face kicked in every week, and then suddenly we're going up against the Rams with all kinds of exciting trick plays and everything. So Yeah, I loved what that play was about, even though I just couldn't choose it over Amon-Ra.
Yeah, any play that crushes Kirk Cousins' soul deserves legendary status.
But also could have crushed Sean McVay's soul. So
Well, I hate Kirk Cousins more.
For me, that play was more the capping off of like a perfect drive. Like we get the ball back, and like if you squint really hard, Jared Goff is like out there looking like Matt. Like in that 2-minute drill, he's looking for the sidelines, he's saving clock, and this is something we've not seen him do all year. He was direct, he was forcing the ball in, putting a little zip on it, and then to finish it out with that nice little route, gets the finds that soft zone, sits down, hits the ball, gets sandwiched by 2 Vikings, but he was never in doubt. He was never going to cough that ball up, and it was just perfect. Like it had to be him, because at this point in the season, he'd gone from like kind of like a non-factor to warming himself into basically heart of the offense. So I don't think anyone else deserved a walk-off touchdown more than he did. And that was when he welcomed himself onto the national scene. And everyone was like, this kid's legit. 16 guys went before him, but he's going to let that bother him every single weekend, and he's going to play like it too.
Yeah. I mean, also we got, like, because of that play and that victory, we got that rap song that came out, which was just absolutely phenomenal. So I love that. So, you know, not to have that in our lives and not to have that as the player of the year for me just doesn't compute. Brilliant play.
All right, I think I've got it sussed.
We can only talk about this play so much. You know, we're really trying here.
There's only 3 nominees as well. You should have picked like 8 nominees if you wanted us to keep going.
Yeah.
Did we have 8 plays?
Right, that is gone. I hope I haven't made any more of those sort of mistakes, because that's going to kill me. Right. Award number 3, we turn over to Ryan McCluskey for Man of the Year. This is replicating the Walter Payton Man of the Year award.
Yep, so we've got the Man of the Year award, as you mentioned, the Walter Payton. So this award embodies what you do on the field, off the field, your demeanour in the presses, post and before games, how you interact with fans on social media. This is everything about it, who embodies that Detroit one pride the most. So the nominees this year we had were fan favourite and friend of the podcast, Jason Binder. We had the new guy in town, Jared Goff. We had Trey Flowers, the man of the people. We had the anime-loving Jamal Williams. And we had the latte, caffeine juice, Dan Campbell, new to town head coach. It was a hard decision, but the winner of this award it was Dan Campbell. It was the man that came into town and said big, bold, brashy things on the news. He rubbed people up the wrong way. Everyone in national media was talking about him, wanting to say that he was going to nibble kneecaps, bite off legs. The Lions would be the last one standing when it came to battle in the trenches. They didn't like his brash attitude or his unfinished, unpolished thing. He came into the presser once with a motorcycle helmet when Detroit at the Grand Prix. People thought he was too comical. But he won the people over. He won the fans over. We've seen tears in the presser after the heartbreaking loss, which just endeared him to people. We saw the outlandish celebrations when he got the win, the first one. Saw Jared Goff head straight to him, make a beeline, because he kept showing faith in him every single week. He worked on it. He was he told them off at halftime. He gave them a telling off when they needed to, but he also showed love, care, and attention. He won the people over. He's got Detroit in his heart. He put that on the field. And what started off as a slowly simmering season came to a nice head and boil at the end of the year, went 3-3 for the final games. And when it mattered most, he got the job done. Now, the last 4 head coaches were something like 0-21 against teams that were 2 games above 500. Not Dan Campbell. Nope. He ended the season 2-0 when it came to facing the big boys, and we were written off. Like, no one thought we had a cat's housing chance. He got the boys prepared. He showed them up. He won those 2 huge games. He took the scalp of Arizona on the road when no one expected us to go there. And then, knowing that we'd face some starters, he told the boys, you will go out there, you'll do a professional job in the last game of the season. You will spoil Green Bay's party. Whoever lines up against you, first or third stringer, and he ended out the season really well. And not to mention, he brought in a great cast around him. He brought in some great faces. Aubrey Pleasant come in, had Aaron Glenn. He leaned on the likes of Ben Johnson, someone that he retained. Hank Fraley, these people were knew and stay. He brought in the likes of Anthony Lynn, who thought would work, but the relationship didn't necessarily gel through no fault of his own, but he was able to take gambles. We set the record for the most converted fourth downs. We set the record at one point for the most attempted. He was ultra aggressive. He would win and lose by the sword, by making decisions on the field. Didn't necessarily leave it to analytics. He went with his gut, and he won the fans over. And for me, this award was never really in doubt when it came to the season.
Probably the most deserving of all the awards we've done here, this one. I think, this was a very, very easy decision. I wrote a thread on him the other day to celebrate his 1 year anniversary, and just the amount of stuff this man has had to go through in the 12 months he's been here. He was called a Neanderthal on live TV to a national audience, a brain dead guy who doesn't know what he's doing. He's just there because he's a meathead. We were told that, people should feel sorry for us because we've got this guy at the helm because it's going to be that bad. And yet, never once did he come out. Did he play in those games? Did he try? He maintained a cool, class, composure. And most importantly, he just got on with his job. That opening interview, people remember it for one line, but we remember it because he laid down his vision for Detroit. And 12 months later, you have to say that he's fulfilled the vision he wanted for this year. A team that fights hard, that plays hard, no room for wasters, no matter what your status. If you're a UDFA who plays your heart out against a vet who is lazy as fuck, then, you're UDFA, you will win. And I think the most classy thing is he's always held himself accountable at every single corner. He could have come out and trashed the previous regime and said, look, all these problems are a result of them. It's not my fault. I mean, if you remember, Matt Patricia did it with Jim Caldwell, and Caldwell left him a stable franchise here with good players on his team. And he still came out and tried to blame his shortcomings on him. But not once has Dan Campbell gone back and said, these guys left this an absolute train wreck and it's their fault. He took accountability. Even when his roster was destroyed by injuries, even when he had no legitimate talent in some areas to start the year, he said, we've got to be better. And he didn't blame anything. And that accountability and the aggressiveness he's used this season has made these players grow beyond the sum of their parts. And to end the season the way he did, the attitude and the community is fostered in this squad is nothing short of sensational. And you'll not find one national media outlet really talking about it either, because they're all too embarrassed about their initial takes on him. He couldn't have done any more if he tried.
I mean, at the end of the day, he actually came out and praised the previous regime for leaving him a really strong stable of character players. I don't know if you guys remember this, but it was reiterated again and again. These guys, they're working really hard all the time. And whether he believes what he was saying or not, and I mean, you can say the same about how he treated Goff, whether he, in his heart, believed it or not, what he did was elevate everyone around him with his words. He came out there and said exactly what the guys needed to hear. It was absolutely fantastic. In terms of the vote, of the 7 of us, he only got 4 of the votes. So only just got there. A couple of votes for Kabinda and 1 vote for Goff. I think the thing about Campbell that got it for me was after the win against Minnesota, the first thing he did was dedicate the game ball to the victims and the families of the Oxford high school shooting. And after that, he was already sold on me, but after that, I knew that the guy was just a good man. And from the start of this podcast, all I've said is, win or lose, make me proud. If you make me proud, I will be happy with whatever's happening on the field. It will suck if we lose, but I don't want to suck with a team that I'm ashamed of because you've got bad character guys on there that just leave a sour taste in your mouth. There's absolutely none of that because they built it the right way and it starts with him. And I'm just so proud to support this team.
I think for me, it's yes, there was some bad defeats, during the season without a doubt, but, there was defeats that we were kind of proud of the team and the performance they put in for their heart and their grit. And, he promised us that on his opening press conference. And, I remember listening to it. It must have been like an hour long. And there was part of me which was like really excited and juiced up by it. And then there was other parts where I was thinking, Jesus Christ, what have we actually got here? This guy's a bit of a loony. And, but I think, over time he's grown into it. He's taken on like the play calling. Long term, I don't know if that's going to continue, but he even grew into that. And I think that he's made he's given the youth a chance there. He hasn't gone out and asked for Brad Holmes to go and get him other free agents or whatever who were available. And I just think that he's just worked with what he's got there. It's been a difficult season. We've had leaders that were missing throughout the year that couldn't contribute this year. He gets them, like the acquirer back and everything like that. We got a chance next year with better players to do something, and I think we're definitely for once heading in the right direction. And he definitely deserves a pat on the back for it. I was one of those who personally voted for Kabinda, but everyone's here's made a real strong case for Campbell. So definitely, well done to him. Congratulations, Dan.
Yeah, you all make brilliant points. The only thing I can add is, for me, he was almost kind of the emotional constant of the year. And by that, I mean, you touch on the opening press conference, but a lot of what he said there resonated with Detroit fans. And we went harder into the kind of Detroit versus everybody feeling this year. And he kind of backs that up. And when you could tell, like, fans were frustrated, he was frustrated too, because he wanted the wins. And when fans were upset because we were losing these heartbreaking games, you could see it in the press conference that he was too. And then we got the elation at the other end too. But I felt like it was so easy to root for him, but also to be kind of emotionally aligned with where he was, rather than when you just have like a deadpan like Belichick or even Patricia, right? Before, and he was just saying, we got to coach better, blah, blah, blah. And you had nothing there but frustration. Whereas I felt like everything Campbell was feeling, obviously not everything, but a lot of it, fans are feeling the same thing too. And that just made it so easy to get behind him, even when things weren't going his way. So yeah, a brilliant year one.
You're right, because you could kind of see it in his face. You can see the emotion. You can feel, you kind of, it's like a window into his soul. With Patricia, he was just there, arms folded, just blank face and no emotion. You never saw anything. And, with Dan Campbell, he's definitely someone who wears his heart on his sleeve. And, he's definitely someone that, you can tell players definitely want to play for. So, it's exciting. It's definitely, a breath of fresh air. Let's put it that way.
Most exciting season for me since 2016 and the 8 Stafford comebacks. Like, it wasn't about how many we won or lost. We were in most games this season. And if we lost, I saw that the coach felt like I did. And that made me feel not better, but like that we shared something, that we were pulling in the same direction.
When he cried after the Bengals game and said, his team deserved it and he was gutted for them, I must admit, I cried as well. He makes you feel the emotion all there, and it was gutting. That was why we celebrated the Minnesota game so much, because no one deserved a victory more than he did after all that work he's put in. And, it's nice to have someone who gives a damn.
Absolutely. Right.
Dan Campbell's like a homegrown meal. He makes you feel, he's warm, he makes you feel whereas Matt Patricia was like Tesco bought couscous, just a misery sand of no emotion. That's how I feel about him now.
I feel offended on Couscous's behalf there, to be honest. It's been compared to Matt Patricia, but...
Oh, man. When Dan Campbell talks about turds on this team, it's a thinly veiled reference to Matt Patricia. I'll just say that.
I was thinking more in line with spam or something like that.
Hey, I won't hear a thing about spam. Bloody love that stuff. Spam fritter sandwich. Can't get a better meal than that. Right.
Well, ask Twitter to get a vote out. What's better, couscous or the spam or whatever? We'll get a vote going.
Couscous.
Couscous as well.
Your face. Right, time to move on to our 4th awards, and actually one of my favourites. Ryan Farden is going to announce our Coach of the Year.
All right, okay, here we go. Well, Coach of the Year, the nominees are Dan Campbell, Aaron Glenn, Dave Phipp, Aubrey Pleasant, Ben Johnson, and Hank Fraley. And the winner by vote is our defensive coordinator, Aaron Glenn. So for me, and I think for a lot of people here, he's really impressed in his first year on the job. So much so, as we covered, he got interviewed for the head coaching position at the Broncos this week, or last week, sorry. So, obviously, they saw enough in him to at least have a look at him, and he's definitely getting noticed around the league. Glenn himself's a former three-time Pro Bowl cornerback, joined us from the New Orleans Saints last year, where he served as defense's back coach from 2016 to 2020. He hasn't had it easy in his first season in Detroit, losing a number of defensive players to injury, including Okudah and our second choice, first and second choice outside linebackers, and even the reserve third and fourth cornerbacks as well. So, he's helped players like Tracy Walker to improve this year. I believe Tracy got like 108 tackles during the season. Cornerback, the one I can never pronounce, Oriarie, stood out this year with 6 interceptions, and he had a really good season, I felt, as well. And the guy just makes players better, making nobodies into somebody's, and that's what a top coach does. So, personally for me, I think he's done a really good job. And with the Lions currently occupying the second overall pick in the upcoming draft, as it stands, there's high expectation that Glenn will, hopefully get a highly rated defensive player coming his way. And, as Glenn said himself, he doesn't want to leave Detroit without being remembered as the best defensive coordinator we've ever had. So I'll be happy with that if we part on those terms, that's for sure. So Aaron Glenn, defensive coach of the year, sorry.
Yeah, absolutely spectacular. Sorry, Brian.
This was another hire that I've noticed. Did you notice when everyone tried to vilify him, when there was that scene where he yells at Okudah, clips him around the ear, but then a few seconds later makes a great play. He's touching his forehead. He puts his arm around him, gives him a big hug. This is another guy that's emotional, and he embodies that. He's like a father. It's tough love. He will dig you out if you make a mistake, and he will not hide it. But then he will also show praise if you're able to redeem yourself and make a big play. It goes both ways. He's vocal, he's physical on the touchline, he's someone that looks very touchy-feely. I think this is a great hire. Like I said, in those games that we lost, the really close ones, great defense. He brought up the blitz packages this year. We were more aggressive on the defensive front. We liked in the likes of Acquira. So even when the bodies were falling, we were still doing the same things. He got great play at Harris, Acquira, a man, he really got those guys to step up when the leaders and the captains started falling, and they were playing for him every single down. We held some great offenses to minuscule yardage, and low points there gave the offense that wasn't always firing every chance to win multiple games. And that's all you can ask of a defense, to keep you in the game, keep giving you chances, generate turnovers. I think we struggled with. We got those at key times. He got guys out there fired up, ready to play, and I couldn't think of any more deserving. It was a testament to him that even if he was never in the running, that he got consideration for head coach's job. It's nice to just be considered, isn't it? It means a lot, and it's a bold promise. It's a bold statement to say when he leaves Detroit, he wants to be the greatest ever defensive coordinator. But if you say it out there and it's on record, he intends to try to live up to it. So I like bold claims like that, and I think with the draft, if we go defensive heavy, he's going to have some toys to work with next year. When people come back, we could be totally different. Keep the basis of what worked on this year. I expect him to do really good things next year.
Yeah, Glenn's an absolute superstar. The only other person who I want to give an honourable mention to is a bit of a forgotten coach, because he's not maybe as glamorous, as big a name as some of the others, but Hank Fraley. I remember, take you back to August when we were watching preseason football, and obviously the first choice O-line was in there and they looked pretty shaky. Sewell was having early troubles, but then you put the second string guys in and it was just an abomination. It was almost unwatchable. And the fact that obviously Sewell started at right tackle struggling. Then he went back to left tackle. Then he went to right tackle. We lost Decker for the first half of the season. We lost Ragnar at the pivot early on too. And he managed to coach up guys like Evan Brown, who I'm not going to say didn't miss a beat. That would be unfair on Ragnar, but Evan Brown was fantastic. He was I would say, league average centre coming in as a guy who I would have thought, do not let him see the field when we were in the preseason. And similar with other guys, you saw the step that Vaitai took during the year. You saw what Sewell became towards the end of the year, where I'm there thinking we could have an all-pro tackle on our hands here. Whereas at the start, I was thinking, kind of, is this guy going to need a good few years of work until we're there? So I think absolutely with what Glenn did on the defensive side and how we lost a lot of guys there, but Fraley shouldn't be forgotten for an incredible job done.
I agree. I ended up voting for him actually because he has completely turned around a historically bad position for us. We've had bad O-lines for a very, very long time. And the 2 years he's been here, he's completely revolutionized the way we play there, even to the fact where his backups are coming in and playing well. We didn't know Ragnar was missing. And, you know, we've a lot of times over the years, we've not even had a good starting centre, let alone a backup who comes in and makes one of the best centres in the NFL, you know, just disappear almost. You don't notice he's not there. So, you know, he's critical that we hang on to him. You know, Dan Campbell did really well with the few guys he hung on to last year. He hung on to the good guys, and we really, really need to bring him back next year.
So on the voting, it was 4-3 in favour of Aaron Glenn. Worth mentioning that Hank Fraley was the incumbent for this award as well. He won Coach of the Year last year. It's an embarrassment of riches at the coaching position. I mean, Dave Phipp has coached this special teams unit up to the point where I'm confident that on 4th and medium we could run fakes and just convert an embarrassingly high amount of the time. Like, that aside, the punting and the coverage has been fantastic. Riley Patterson and Austin Siebert look like excellent kickers. You know, like, this special teams unit is fantastic. If anything, Dave Phipp has elevated the special teams unit beyond last year, and Yasir was already good. Aubrey Pleasant, I mean, we'd have a look and we give all the credit to Aaron Glenn for making this defense what it is, but Aubrey Pleasant is the guy actually working day-to-day basis with these DBs, where we've really excelled with the young guys, and I mean, it could have easily gone to him. And then you have a look at the offensive turnaround of this team, and it coincided with Ben Johnson becoming the de facto offensive coordinator alongside Dan Campbell and the pass game coordinator, like our tight ends coach. I mean, last year brought out the best in Hawkinson, and I mean, maybe that didn't translate this year, but Ben Johnson takes over some of the scheming from Anthony Lynn, and this team looks completely different. All 6 of the coaches listed here were deserving of this award. And the fact that only 2 got votes maybe not surprised me, because I thought that Glenn would get it just because of how good this defense looked. The defense was only let down by how bad the offense was through 9 or 10 games of this season, because they were on defense so much. They racked up yards against because it was being run down their throats. But with a better offense, this defense could have been top 10, top 15. I really, really believe that. And from where we started last year, that's incredible.
I don't even think, like, you know, Juice Staley wasn't even in there, but I don't think he done a bad job this year. Personally, yeah. I don't think he did. I mean, you know, obviously we had plenty of injuries there as well. I thought he done, you know, well. I mean, I'm not saying enough to probably be, you know, ahead of those guys, but I think that what we're talking about here is that we do have a very good coaching set up now in Detroit. And, you know, if you have, you know, obviously we had problems with the ex-Chargers head coach, but, you know, we managed to adapt to it. And at the end of the day, you know, we grew and everyone grew into their role. And, you know, we did end up winning 3 of the last 6 games this season, you know, so there is positive signs definitely there. And I just think that we've got a really strong.
All right, let's move on to our 5th award of the day, and Tom is going to announce our signing of the year.
Absolutely. So this covers free agents, trades, waivers, kind of everything, which doesn't include rookies and new guys we had on the team. So the nominees we had were Jared Goff, obviously before the season. We had Charles Harris, Jamal Williams, And then in season, the Reynolds twins, so Josh Reynolds and Craig Reynolds. And the winner is Charles Harris, which is maybe not that surprising. I think out of that list of players, he's the one I would have voted for or did vote for. I'd very much beating humble pie. I don't know if I was on one of the pods when we were talking about free agent signings. Harris was not a guy I was particularly excited about. He's a guy who didn't have elite athleticism at the edge position. First round pick, he really hadn't done a huge amount. But he just had a fantastic season, and he really came on throughout the year as we started to lose guys as well, and kind of filled in as the next man up and then took his game to a whole nother level. Does anyone other than Matt know what he signed for in terms of what his 1 year deal was worth? 1.75 million. That's it.
Is that vet minimum on it? Near vet minimum on it. Yeah.
And his over the cap valuation now for next year is 11.3 million. So he had an exceptional season. He was a great story for us to follow as well. I hope we hold on to him at the right price. And obviously we talked about hopefully getting some youth in at the edge position as well. But really, really impressive year.
It's just a great redemption story, really. A former first round pick that most people before this season had no idea he was still in the league. Like he was picked by the Dolphins, really struggled there. Eventually was axed, bounced around, and then found a home here, like you say, like last chance saloon almost. The guy, I think, is nearly 27, so he needed a big year to try to sustain his place in the league this year, and he really delivered. When things got tricky, and we lost, like, say, Flowers had knocks, we lost Aquara, he was taking swabs from Julian, Austin Bryant was in and out. We cut hand because that ship had finally set sail. So we'd really got down to those bare minimum guys, but we found someone that had that knack for rushing the passer. That 5-game stretch where like 4.5 sacks was really good. Like he has that finishing ability. Like he was able to get around the edge, beat players off the line of scrimmage. And then when he got there, he brought guys down with force. Like I say, he was able to lock hands, finish the play, which is something that's always the hardest bit, can get there. Very few guys escaped his grasp. And then later on in the season, he improved against the run. There was a point where he was struggling to keep his contain on the outside because he was a bit always eyes in the backfield. So I really enjoyed watching him. And I feel like at the right deal, a 2-year contract is probably on the plate for him if we're able to come to some sort of negotiation, that he serves as great depth and he's got the youth as well.
Yeah. I mean, he's 26 years of age. I mean, and he was technically a bit of a forgotten man in the NFL as a former first-round pick. I mean, I think he went to the Falcons for like a 7th rounder or something like that the other year. So, I mean, he was forgotten. I mean, you know, there probably would have been a few people that wouldn't have even given him a chance. I don't know. But, you know, I think, you know, it all goes down to, I love players that could go and get the quarterback, and he's good at doing that. So, you know, while I think we still need a lot more help in that kind of area of the field, you know, he done really well for us this year, without a doubt. And I think, you know, he is deserving winner of this award as well. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I am going to move this one on, and we're going to go to Ant for the next award, which is the Most Improved Player of the Year. This is limited to players that were on the roster last year.
Yep. So as Matt says there, we are looking for the most improved player. And I think for the first time we can say in years, a lot of players visibly got better this year because it was just something they didn't do under Matt Patricia. So we've got a good lineup here. So the nominees for the most improved player, number 1 is Halapulavati Vaitai, our right guard, much maligned when he was signed 2 years ago for 5 years and 50 million. He was injured last year. Terrell Crosby supplanted him at the right tackle position where we initially bought him in. And I think at the start of this year, most people were ready to be done with him and cut him this year because you can save a fair bit of money on his contract. But I mean, as has already been said briefly, he's played incredibly well this year. He had to start the year playing alongside Matt Nelson, who's not very good when he's a starter on the line. He then had Sewell transfer over next to him. He's a rookie, a gifted rookie, but you look at the way those two play together. He's been like an older brother figure for Sewell. And those two have really caused some havoc on the right-hand side of that line, especially when it comes to creating running lanes. I think those two are the perfect combo there. And it's to the point now where I'd keep him, and I'm not even considering drafting anyone to replace him anymore. Second guy, it's actually our other guard, Jonah Jackson. Now, we said he had a really good year last year, which he did. But this year he started a little bit shaky, but no Ragno in there with him, no Decker in there with him. Again, he's working with rookies and backups to start off. So he did look a little shaky, but as the year's gone on, he's back to the guy that we know and love, and he's had a really good season. Jalen Reeves-Maybin is the third guy. This is probably one of the ones who was on the most on the periphery this time last year. He was a perennial special teamer under Matt Patricia, never really gave him an opportunity in the lineup. But when Dan Campbell blasted Jamie Collins' lazy ass into space, he got a chance to start in this team. And you know what? He's actually played pretty well this year, given the circumstances. He's shown growth in his game. I mean, his passes battered down at the line of scrimmage. He gets up close. He stops QBs passing the ball. He's rushed pretty well as well against the quarterback. So, Jalen Reeves-Maybin just has gone from perennial special teamer to potentially one of our starting linebackers next year. So it's been a great year for him. And then the last one is Tracy Walker. I think we all agreed 12 months ago he needed to have a really good year to justify keeping him. He'd been up and down, let's say, after that first great year he had. But, he's had a really good year working alongside probably one of the worst players in the team. He's managed to keep it together for the most part at the back. And, it's quite fitting that we ended the year with a Tracy Walker sack. So those are the 4 nominees for most improved player, and the victor is Halapulavati Vaitai, our right guard. And personally, I think that is very well earned. The fact that people aren't really talking about getting rid of him now, when that's all they could do at the start of the season, shows how well he has played. And he was piece 5 on that offensive line. We were all wondering about the guard position. That might be the one that struggles. Well, not anymore. Well done, Halapulavati.
I think at the end of the day, Evan Brown was helped out by having someone like Big V next to him. Big V came in with a rookie one side of him and someone who, as Tom said earlier, you didn't want anywhere near the field in pre-season on the other side of him. And that side of the line just held up fine for most of the year. That is because of Vaitai. So never mind how he played as an individual, but how he held the unit together as an anchor cannot be understated. The guy, for me now, is one of the most important parts of that line. And, he's under contract for another 3 years?
3 years.
3 years. And, the contract does get quite high for a guard after this coming season in 2022. So 22, there's no doubt he's on the roster. He had a, small contract restructure earlier on, which pretty much solidifies the fact that he's back next season. But the following 2, he's a potential cut candidate in terms of his contract being high for a guard. But if he performs like this or shows more improvement, and with Hank Fraley, anything's possible, this line is absolutely set up for massive success, and he's a big part of it.
I'm quite surprised he's won the award. I don't believe I voted for him. Maybe that's a testament to him that if you're an offensive lineman, the less we mention your name, usually the better job you're doing. He was one of the mainstays that he certainly gave away some of these penalties, I believe. He wasn't heavily penalised like some of the other guys, so he did have a good year. I think the only qualm anyone ever had was the contract he was given in the first place. Like I say, it was a very big deal. Last year, he had the foot injury, struggled to live up to it. But I agree, this year, he's worked with a number of bodies. He's played games with he's had Matt Nelson, he's had Kramer, he's had Skipper, he's had Evan Brown, he's been next to Sewell. He's had a plethora of bodies inside and outside of him. And that lack of inconsistency has not wavered him one bit. He's still able to hold his own. We've gone against some elite pass rush this year, and he's helped calm the nerves of a lot of inexperienced guys to the inside of him. They're probably a bit shaky and, like I say, maybe never should have been on the field. So certainly a worthy winner. And as you mentioned now, our need to find a guard in the next year's draft has certainly dropped a few places in order. But I'm all for keeping him next year. Like I said, this line now looks settled. You can name a 1 to 5 across the board, and the longer it plays together, the better it'll be. So bought himself another great year to prove that he's deserving of those final years in his contract.
Yeah.
Not much to really add. I mean, everyone knows here that I really was not a fan of this guy whatsoever, to put it politely, and I voted for him this year, and what it says on the tin, most improved player from the last season's gone by, and there's a player there, and obviously more to come, hopefully. Basically, I don't want to be happy with just one good season. He's got to go on and kick on now and make that position, without doubt for him. So yeah, really good season by him, and that's what we thought we were getting in the first place, to be honest with you.
And the relationship he's built with Sewell as well. I think Sewell was mic'd up in one of the later weeks. Maybe it was Seattle, I want to say, when he wasn't playing, when Vaitai wasn't playing. He put out a reference to him as he was warming up for the game. So they've clearly built a close relationship. I think that's only going to help Sewell. You mentioned it. There's no way it didn't help Brown as well. So, I imagine Tracy Walker maybe got a couple of votes as well, but it's hard to argue. He didn't. Interesting. Hard to argue with Vaitai.
I think I vote for Reeves Mabin.
Yeah, 2 votes for
Reeves
Jackson,
Mabin,
1 for Mabin, and 4 for Vaitai. If I didn't vote for Vaitai, I would have voted for JRM, because his evolution from special teamer to best linebacker on the team late on. I mean, I think that he had eclipsed Anzalone down the stretch. Like, he was all over the place in some of the games. I think he did get 190 grade in there somewhere. I might be mistaken, but I did think he got a couple of really good grades in there. He seemed to his coverage was excellent, but he got a lot better in run defense, which was shocking for me because I didn't think he was capable of that.
Was this award there last year? Because I'd like to know who won it last year. I'm guessing it must have been Hodkinson, was it, or something like that?
I think it was. No, it was Hawk or it was Aquara.
Probably Romeo. Romeo got it.
Romeo got it. Yeah. And, unfortunately, he wasn't around much this year, but...
Yeah. There we go. Right. Time for award number 7. So that's me. Comeback Player of the Year. So let me just load up my graphics because I'm an idiot. So nominees for Comeback Player of the Year are... So this is not limited to just the people that we've had already. This is now open to everyone. So Comeback Player of the Year nominees are Jared Goff, and I think that this is in no small part down to his performance down the stretch. Now, obviously, Goff, in the last 2 seasons before coming here, had a massive downturn to the point where he was benched late on last season by the Rams for a no one, to be quite honest. And then the first half of this season, he looked like he was very much taking on the mantle of being completely hopeless. But down the stretch, turned into one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. He looked assured, he was confident, his footwork noticeably improved. And so that's, I think, a mark of comeback player in the year rather than of the year, perhaps. Charles Harris, we've spoken before about his turnaround and just quite how much he's transitioned from bust and potentially looking at going out of the league to one of the better players here and definitely going to get a payday no matter where he goes after this. Ash has just said John Warford is not a no one, he's a LinkedIn legend. I have no idea about that. There we go. Anyone want to fill me in on what that means?
I think he had a LinkedIn account because he wasn't expecting to make it as a quarterback, and it was like one of his roles was quarterback at Los Angeles Rams, and he was asked about it as he was starting a kind of a playoff game, and he was like, "Well, I didn't know how this is going to go. I don't know how it's going to go. So it's good to keep my options open."
Fair. Player number 3 nominated is Tracy Walker. Already mentioned that in the previous award that he's kind of come back from being forced to play in the box when that's not his natural skill set, and going back to free safety, making crucial plays left and right, and starting to look a bit more like himself. And finally, Amani Oruwariye, that guy that Ryan can't mention. Honestly, I've been wrong about this guy, and I've been wrong about this guy for some time, and it's just clear now that his problem was never his ability, it wasn't his application, but it was that he was being coached by idiots. And a competent staff comes in, and passer rating allowed through the roof, like one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL, top 10 in the NFL in passer rating allowed or something like that. And, you know, top 10 in the NFL in interceptions as well, or top 5 in the NFL in interceptions. Like, the guy's completely turned around. Now, can he improve in coverage? Can he improve on the short crossing routes? Yeah, sure, there's room there, but his base was pretty low. I think I was, like with Jared Goff earlier in the year, I was almost at the point where I was calling for him to be cut outright because I just hated watching him on the field. And down the stretch, he stood up and he was counted. You know, everything that Dan Campbell talks about, Armani embodied that. So, very deserving of the nomination for this award. And the winner of the Comeback Player of the Year is Charles Harris, picking up his second award. Charles Harris came in, and as I said earlier, he was almost out of the league. I really don't think he was getting much. As we said earlier, $1.75 million contract, the 22nd overall pick in the 2017 NFL draft. In the 4 years preceding this one, he had a total of 6.5 sacks as a designated pass rusher for much of that time. But in Detroit this year, he had 7.5 in one season. He eclipsed the last 4 years in one. Like, he just was... It didn't look like the same guy on the field. He just looked happy when he was playing, and long may that continue. I really, really hope that he stays. Charles Harris, Comeback Player of the Year.
Yeah, I think it's well earned again. You know, in terms of where his career was going to compared to where it is now, he's made by far the biggest of the jumps of everybody. You know, it was part of the reason Holmes handed out so many one-year deals. Let's see who stands up and earns their place here, and he's very much done that. And I don't want to lose him.
There's going to be a glaring hole opposite Romeo next year because Trey Flowers can't be back. Like, the cap saving you get from getting rid of him is too high to ignore. So there is a spot over there for a pass rusher, and he will very much be in consideration to take it. If he's happy, he plays well. So let's keep this relationship together, seeing as the coaches are all staying. I think he'll be very happy to stay here and can have another productive year.
I think maybe we've said all we want to say on Charles Harris, so maybe we'll move this on. And we're going to move on to one of my favourite awards. Ryan McCluskey is going to award our undrafted free agent of the year.
Yeah, this award, it's really hard, is this one, to even think about who could win it. The undrafted free agent year of the award, so those guys that unfortunately were slipped through the fingers like sand of the draft picks, they were soon on the phone as soon as the draft ended, and we've got 4 candidates here for you. And in their own way, all could be very worthy winners. So we've got the undrafted defensive back out of Arkansas State, Jerry Jacobs. We've got the place kicker, Riley Patterson from Memphis. We have defensive back, AJ Parker from Kansas State. And we have Brock Wright, a tight end from Notre Dame. As I mentioned, all played huge parts at some point in the season when bodies started to drop. Also, considerable playing time. We'll all be here next year and we'll see playing time in hopefully significant roles. So in that case, they're all very worthy winners, but we could only pigeonhole one person. And it had to be it had to be Jerry Jacobs. The guy has become a fan favorite already. Like, you see all on Twitter, people just love him. This kid plays way bigger than he is. He's just like 5'10", 210 pounds. But you look at him, the way he plays, his physicality, is like a 6-foot dude. And he had a great year. 7 passes defended, a forced fumble and recovered, 34 tackles, a PFF grade overall of 65.8, which is very, I'd say that's very impressive for a guy that was never expected to see the field. And everyone loves him. He had a great stretch between weeks 5 and 12, where he had majority of his tackles, he had all of the passes defended, lost all the games, but this kid never lost heart. He was great line of scrimmage, tackled really well for someone, showed flashes of coverage against some of the elite receivers. We have seen some big boys come in this year, and he competed with everyone. And he loves people on social media. Like, he's really active. Like, he's reaching out this brand of, he's a JUCO product. So he's from junior college. So they have that chip on the shoulder. they don't get drafted, which it irks them. It does upset these kids. They've got a serious point to prove, and he looked like that this year. And I can't wait to see what he does in year 2 when he's got that year of experience under his belt. He knows the scheme, so everything next year will just come more natural to him, and a very worthy award winner, I feel.
Absolutely. I mean, am I right in saying Bobby Price started before he did originally? So the coaching staff obviously wanted to give him a bit more time, get him ready. But the further we got into that season, you saw some real kind of technical excellence in what he was doing as well. He may be raw, I guess, as a rookie, but you saw some really, really good stuff in there. And he just feels like the kind of guy who's always been told, oh, you're too small or you're not athletic enough. And he's just like, yeah, fuck you. I'm going to go and kind of show you what I'm about. And another guy that really embodied what we're trying to build here. And you just want to root for him. I mean, it was heartbreaking when you saw the injury and you saw the reaction from all the players, all the coaches, all the fans. And the fact that, to your point, right, he's then giving back as well, as in he's engaging with the fans, he's engaging with the city. He's an absolute stud. I'm pumped to have him on the team.
I think the fact that you can, we had too many candidates for the award says something about just how much they found this year. Because I think Kramer was a free agent as well, and he's coming on the line and played guard very respectably towards the end of the year. The fact that we have too many guys to put on this award from undrafted free agents just shows what a terrific job Brad Holmes did. And I mean, you're almost looking forward to seeing that list now this year as much as you are the actual draft picks to see potentially who we're getting an absolute great deal out of. But, I love Jerry. He's the embodiment of Detroit. The guy who came in, wasn't expected to be given a chance, like a lot of people said, but Dan Campbell gave him a chance. He's come in, he's worked his absolute ass off. And yes, he got burned a few times, but what a drafted free agent doesn't? And he's grown into one of the most pivotal parts of that defense. And that's just what I love most about the caliber of guys who are coming here. They actually want to be here. They actually want to be starters. They want to play here. They're not here just for a paycheck. These guys are here to win things. And we find many more of this guy, then Jesus, we're in good hands going forward. And praying for a very, very swift recovery for him and that he's ready for first game next year, because wide receivers are absolutely going to hate him.
It's very rare that you get kind of guys that are undrafted free agents in that sort of position as well, that come in and make a splash. And obviously it was down to the fact that, like, Dan Campbell and his staff said that you're going to get a chance to play here. And I think that a lot of these players do lose faith or don't believe that they are going to get a fair crack at it. And obviously Jerry Jacobs took it with both hands, and he is a fan's favorite, as everyone says. I mean, he plays with his heart on his sleeve. He gives absolutely everything. He'll make a mistake, but he'll bounce back from it. And he was just percolating kind of like beautifully. He was boiling right up there for us, and I just hope he comes back from this injury. I hope it isn't something that's going to affect him down the line, but he is very talented. And as you say, Brad Holmes, wow, I mean, with this award and those names that you mentioned, it was fantastic. And then the next award is about the rookies, and we're talking about loads of rookies there that have done really well. So that's what I'm saying, that the whole thing in Detroit right now, with the GM to the coaching staff making these players that no one knows about better, it's just really good, and it's exciting.
This was the only unanimous vote in the entire thing, so that tells you what Jerry means to the fans. I mean, I think AJ Parker was exceptional as well, but Jerry, I think it said it all when, I think on his third or fourth start, that teams were actively targeting Amani rather than targeting Jerry. Like, both starters on the field, and teams were going after Amani Oruwariye, the third-year cornerback one, rather than going after the UDFA with a couple of games experience. It was shocking to see, and I think it kind of goes back to what I thought about Amani early on in the year, and obviously he completely proved me wrong on that point, but goes to show how well he played straight out the gate. And I think something that's quite underrated that doesn't get talked about at all is we've heard for years about trying to find these receivers that play faster than their 40 time. So Cooper Kupp is like the ultimate example of that. I found him in the third round, not especially fast in a straight line when tested, but one of the fastest guys on the field because of his in-play speed. Jerry has that as a cornerback. Like, he may not be the fastest guy on a 40 time, but you have a look at him in coverage, and he's electric. Like, his mixture of brain and speed makes him so much faster than he might appear at first sight, and it's fantastic. He puts in the most effort of anyone on that team, bar Maney, Amon-Ra. It's great. I love him.
The undrafted free agents have set a new standard for what is expected of players who come here now. We say, we need to see 2 or 3 years of players to develop before we see true potential. But we've seen 2 guys come in this year with him and Parker who have worked incredibly hard and shown unbelievable development this year already. So, whether you're a draft pick or an undrafted free agent, the standard is set for you now. And if you don't meet that, then you're going to be in trouble, and rightly so. A team that works as hard as those 2 do, no matter what your classification, will be a very dangerous team. So, that might have been what increased Amani's performance. She's, good God, I've got these few young guys in here coming playing well. We thought that his job was under threat at one point with these guys until he stepped it up himself. So, yeah, we've completely redefined what we expect from players in Detroit now for the good. For years, we've just, I think, expected too little, maybe waited too long. Now we know that you can improve quickly if you work hard. Same with Amon-Ra.
I think Jeff's job is under threat, and that's not because of injury. That's just because now he is going to find a competition next year at Kudu when he returns. There's a lot of mouths to feed at the cornerback room now, and they're all hungry. So it's going to be interesting to see next year how this split snaps, because there's going to be a real battle on his hands there. So it is going to be some real competition. It's great to see. A lot of guys that want to play, and you can only have so many corners on the field at once.
All right, let's move it along to our 9th award of the night. We're going to go to Ryan Farden to talk about our Rookie of the Year.
All right. So, yeah, the Rookie of the Year, obviously, plenty of players here that will hopefully be in Detroit for a very long time. I think obviously our GM done a great job this year again of they're bringing in these players, and they've all you can all make a case for all of these guys for winning it. But the nominees for the Rookie of the Year are Penei Sewell, Aleem McNeil, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jerry Jacobs, and AJ Parker. And the winner is Penei Sewell. Is the Rookie of the Year. Obviously, everyone knows our first round pick from Oregon, has already become fans' favorite in Detroit. He's, while the team was ravaged with injury, in a position of what we believed was going to be of real strength for us this year. And while it was done with players that, you wanted in the lineup not being there. So obviously, he started 16 out of 17 games for us. So obviously great for a young rookie to do that, built up a great relationship along the way with Vaitai. So, something that bodes well for the future. Filled in, obviously, as mentioned earlier, both right and left tackle, and his performances earned him a spot on the PFF's all-rookie team. So, many have lavished praise on Sewell's performances this season. He was the youngest player in the league, but he said that his season simply wasn't good enough, at all, and he's already looking forward to putting in the work towards a better second season. So, one thing's for sure, I certainly believe that we found a gem here in Detroit, and he's going to be someone who's going to be a fixture for us for a very long time, and possibly, if we get new jerseys, the next name I get on my Lions shirt.
I think this was one of the easiest decisions to make. I know you could say Amon-Ra, he's had a great end of the year, but Penei Sewell has had an elite season all season, pretty much. He's come in to the hardest of circumstances. He's been thrust right in at left tackle because Decker's been injured. Forget he's not played in 18 months. He comes in, he has a bad preseason, gives up some, everyone's going, oh my God, he's a bust. And he just comes in and settles in right away. And yes, he's had his little, moments where he's had to, he's had his moments of adversity this year, but every single time he's stepped up and met those moments with great play himself. And then he made the transition back to right tackle, didn't complain about it, went straight there, and as Ryan said, struck up a great repertoire with his right guard. Vaitai, and he's just the embodiment again of what you want in Detroit. Like Jacobs and Parker come in and work extremely hard as UDFAs. You want your elite guys to come in and never be satisfied. You want them to carry on getting better. Because by all means, this season he's had a great season, and I think the fact that the team he's on has probably influenced some of the decisions when it comes to the All-Pro decisions, and that he should be in that conversation. And the fact that he just wants to carry on getting better and better, I mean, again, it's just indicative of the culture we're building here and the players that we want here. And he's had a great year. I didn't agree with the pick. I know you all remember that. I wanted Parsons, but I'm glad we did. I'm really glad we did. He's just been proven to be everything we wanted and more. And we got an absolute steal with him at 7. He should have gone a lot earlier.
I mean, at the end of the day, the guy's got a lot of developing to do as well. Like, we are scratching the surface of what he is capable of. In terms of, like, the sort of wide receiver screens that we tried to run with him getting out to try and block the slot corner or a safety coming down to make a tackle, he wasn't quite making those yet this season. And you saw him do it with regularity in college. And I think as the game starts to go slower for him, he's going to start making those plays with regularity. And when you've got someone like Amon-Ra St. Brown in the slot and Sewell getting out there to make blocks, it's going to be a wild combination. But, the adversity he's had to face all the way through the year, and, starting off left tackle in college, right tackle in high school, left tackle in college for the majority of his career, then coming into training camp as right tackle, having to move to left tackle for week 1, and then going to right tackle, and through the middle half of the year being the second best tackle in football behind the insane Trent Williams. The guys exceeded all expectations, and you hear PFF and other people going on about how good Slater was, but Slater did not have to go through the adversity that Sewell did this year. Like, it wasn't close. So, for the marginal, points differential that Slater had over Sewell this year, you have a look at the circumstances in which they gain their grades, and there's absolutely no way I'm taking Slater over Sewell. Like, it's not a conversation. And in terms of attitude, in terms of the way he's hard on himself, he's angry when he misses a play, he celebrates as hard as anyone on the team. I love the guy. Absolutely love him.
I love this new found sort of sense of fearlessness amongst our new players as well. I mean, when he got up in Aaron Donald's face in the Rams game and he just gave him as good as he got, he didn't back down. He's like a true alpha guy going out there. He's like, you might be the best defensive player in the league, but you're mine, sort of thing. It's great to see all these rookies are showing the exact same fearlessness that we've not seen in a long time. I loved it. I love to see that, especially that. Just like, go on, just shove him down.
Sorry, can I just say, didn't he miss a season because of the COVID? So
yeah, he was 18 months. He not played a game.
He's like 21, and he's missed a season of college football, and he's come in and played that well. I mean, if that just doesn't tell you what you've got there, I don't know what does. I mean, he is going to be. Well, he already is a stud, but he is going to be right up there with the greats if he Bob Touchwood. Anyway, let's put it that way.
Yeah, I just love the energy he brings as well. That obviously came through more and more as the season went on. And you mentioned Trent Williams there. I was watching the Niners game, and they had a couple of situations where they had Trent Williams in motion, just crushing guys. And I was watching it thinking, this is what we got to do with Sewell as well, because I'm not comparing them directly. Trent Williams has just had one of the best left tackle seasons in history, but he can do similar things. And I think early on in the year, there was a few creative motions with Sewell, and then we actually stepped away from that as things didn't really click early. I think they'll go back to that in this offseason, and people will start to get creative with him on those screens, on those motions. And he's just so fun to watch. And how often can you talk about offensive line play and honestly be like, he's exciting. He's a superstar to watch. So yeah, brilliant year.
We moved away from some of those motions, but then some of the stuff we mixed in was Sewell going in motion and actually ending up being, from right tackle, being the tight end outside Decker and then running behind that. And that worked really, really well. So we moved away from him trying to get out in space to block, but we did something else I think actually worked far better. It was really exciting.
I mean, you mentioned about him not reaching the screens and that. I don't think that was him. I think we were throwing them too quick. you've got to give your linemen time to get out there and make the blocks. And I think there were more than one example, especially when Goff was nervous at the start of the year, trying to get it out as fast as he physically could. I don't think that was all on Sewell either. I think now that Goff settled down, you probably will see it be a lot more effective.
Fair. All right. Time to move on. And Tom is going to do award number 10. We're getting into the big ones now, talking about the special teams player of the year.
Yeah, I love it. Special teams deserves all the praise. And we'll jump straight into the nominees. So kicking it off, no pun intended, we have the two boots to start. So we've got Jack Fox up first. We've got Riley Patterson following him. And then three guys who are unsung heroes, really, in terms of special teams. But friend of the pod, Jason Kabinda. Special teams ace and superstar, CJ Moore. And then a guy who's really stepped up this year as a starting gunner in Bobby Price. And the winner of Special Teams Player of the Year may come as a surprise. It probably doesn't. It's your favorite field optimization specialist, Mr. MVP of the league, Jack Fox. May also not be MVP of the league, but should be MVP of the league. Yeah, unsurprising to see him win this, but another excellent year. Obviously, he was pretty much the only bright spark we could hold on to last year in terms of his performance. But actually, his punt average went up this year to 49.2. His touchback percentage went down. And that's just all the stuff with his leg. And we know what he can do with that. This year, we got a chance to see what he can do with his arm as well. 2 of 3 in terms of that perfect completion record was ruined. But that wasn't even his doing. He threw a lovely ball on that third one too. Yeah, Jack Fox, it's an absolute pleasure to watch you plow that ball into orbit every week.
There's not a lot you can say, is there? He's just like, everyone was upset when we lost, was it Sam Martin, who in his own right was a really good punter. Like we felt like we were all at sea, but Jack Fox came in and, like I say, he's just a star. Like, he flips the field on a consistent basis. Like I say, he gives us that extra dynamic. He's a weapon in his own right. And now this year, we've started to see him utilised more on the fakes. Like, he's obviously been working on throwing balls, that fast release when he looks for that out and that break. And he's become obviously a fan favourite, but also special teams. A few years ago, I feel like we didn't care about it as much as we do now. Like, everyone knows it's one of the biggest factors in the games. Like, it wins or loses. And there's so many times where we've got to pin a team deep, starting from their own 5 or 10, and that just gives so much more to work with. Like, he is a crucial part of everything we do, digging us out of holes when we get backed up towards our own line, and then when he's able to rip one off and give those aforementioned excellent special team coverage guys who get downfield, pin that ball deep. He really changes games, and he's a momentum stealer. Like, just when you think you've got us deep and he ricks off like a 67-yard punt, and just like that, they've got the world and earth to go again down the field. So we love him and give him a lifetime deal.
Yeah, I completely agree. He's basically like Johnny Hecker now, isn't he? I mean, he's just like, you know what Johnny Hecker became in LA. You know, he just, when he's on the field, you're kind of like thinking that, oh, something could actually happen here, you know. And he's just you know, he's going to do his job consistently well with punting it when needed to, and he's got an arm where he can get us a first down as well. So he's really good. But I think from that selection of people as well, obviously, I think that must have been unanimous going for Fox for that one. But Riley Patterson, it looks like we got a kicker because, you know, with him, you know, I know his longest, I think, was only about 49 or something like that, which obviously will need to be longer than that next season. But, you know, I think that now we can kind of rest easy going into the off season with hopefully knowing that we've got a kicker as well for next year. So I'm pleased about that as well.
I want to watch a Packers podcast do this award.
I mean, is it reluctantly like Mason Crosby, but they're crying while they're saying it?
Which one will they fire out of a cannon soonest? Will probably be the way they went. I'm surprised Scott Daly didn't get a mention in this. His long snapping's been flawless this year, and he's replaced a franchise legend. So I'm surprised he didn't get a mention. He's not one problem. Well, we know Mulback's gone, but we didn't notice it on the field.
No, actually, that is an oversight. He should have been on there. So the reasons was that there was one vote for Riley Patterson, by the way. I'm not sure who that was, but fair enough. In terms of, so you know that I quite like PFF. Must have been mine. You know I quite like PFF. And the reason that the other guys were mentioned, one, Bobby Price caught that pass, as well as being an exceptional gunner. But CJ Moore had the second most snaps on special teams and was the second highest rated player on PFF for special teams for the Lions. 82.6 grade for the season. 7 tackles was second in the team and 2 assisted tackles as well. So really, really strong showing for CJ Moore. He's the personal protector, so the guy who's got to protect Jack Fox. So when Jack Fox can get all those punts away, CJ Moore's one of those guys that really, helping make that happen. And then Jason Kabinda was the number 1 ranked player for the Detroit Lions on special teams. He had 6 tackles and was just exceptional all the way through, didn't make a mistake all season. So that's really something. But I do have a trivia question for you, which is, who played the most special team snaps this season for the Detroit Lions?
JRM?
Nope. Let me find where he was.
Anthony Pittman?
Reeves Maven played 117 snaps on special teams, whereas CJ Moore played 298.
Wow.
Okay, what did you say, Ryan?
Pittman?
Yeah, I don't know how you've got that.
Very good.
Oh,
So CJ Moore is second with 298 snaps. Anthony Pittman had 374 snaps on special teams. Like, I know that's because he basically doesn't contribute anywhere else, but I don't know how you have that many snaps on special teams. It's quite staggering, really. Anyway.
He must be a key part of every unit, and he stayed healthy, because if you're getting 20 plus snaps a game on special teams, that's some serious going.
I know. I just thought that was really, really funny. Yeah. Patterson, I got to give a hand to him. We talked earlier in the year about not really caring if we can't kick beyond 50, because, from 50 and further away, with Fox as a weapon, let's pin him deep. Unless you need to win a game in the final few seconds, I don't want to kick a field goal from there, really, because if you miss, you're giving their offense such a chance for field position. But to have someone unlike Prater, whose money between 40 and 49 is worth a lot, and Patterson missing one kick from 55 yards and the rest was perfect. I can't say enough about the guy.
Exactly. We should strive to have an offense that doesn't mean we have to kick 50-yard field goals all the time.
Yeah. And also, in a weird way, let's hope Jack Fox, I suppose, in a way, isn't winning this again next year. Maybe, give someone else a chance, but making a name for himself on special teams for us next year, if that makes sense, in a positive manner.
I don't know. If he throws half a dozen tudders, then he might be in the reckoning for it. He probably could.
He does that if he fucking quarterback.
Yeah, Jack Fox waits for no one. He's going on a 10-year streak of this award.
You might well.
We're just going to rename it the Jack Fox Award, I think. Just
the Jack Fox Special Teams Player of the Year Award goes to Jack Fox.
Next year, let's hope we have a returner to nominate. We need a returner.
I was thinking that as I saw the nominees. I was like, oh.
Right, we're going into the last one each now, and to kick us off, Anthony Fitzpatrick with our Defensive Player of the Year.
Where are we? Yeah, sorry. So the Defensive Player of the Year, as Matt has said, we've maybe not have had the best defense on paper this year, but what Aaron Glenn has managed to get out of a meager budgeted defense. I think I saw that we only have what 28 million invested in the defense or something this year. It's incredibly low, whatever it is. That have been playing. We're by far the least in the league. All these rookies and free agents have really stood up for us, and we'll get straight into it. So this Defensive Player of the Year, the nominees, well, he's back again like he is when he's chasing after Kyler Murray. It's Charles Harris. We've said a lot about him already, but definitely up there. Coming 7.5 sacks. A lot of pressure. I think 53 or 4 pressures on the entire season. He's had a great one, and of course, he was going to be involved in this. Oruwarie's there as well. Again, a hell of a lot of picks, a lot of personal development and growth, and potentially our cornerback one next year. He's had a really good season, so good that he's been nominated for this. Tracy Walker, safety. Again, we've mentioned he's had a great year in comparison to the last few. Was in potential for comeback player of the year, etc. Only just missed out, but not because he's been bad, but because there were just a few guys who were a little bit better. He's already won 1 award already. He's just come in and showed the kind of attitude that you really, really want to see from undrafted free agents. He's taken his opportunity with both hands, and he is not going to let it go. And he's absolutely, even though he's an undrafted free agent, an absolutely deserving candidate for this. And finally on this list, and this is probably due to me that he got involved in this in the first place, my favourite gargantuan nose tackle, Aleem McNeil. He's not been mentioned much tonight, and maybe he had a slow start to the season, but you've seen his development as the year has gone on. Obviously, Williams and Brockers have really disappointed on the inside, but McNeil, he's done really well. When I did the review on him last year, I said that rushing the quarterback is not his speciality, but he's turned up and done that quite a lot this year. He's got a few sacks, he's got pressures, he's done really well. And in the run game, when he's been given the opportunity due to a lack of snaps, he has come in and played really well. And I'm really excited to see his development going forward. He plays in the 3 or the 4. He's a very versatile guy, and he's going to be a big player for Detroit for years to come. So he also makes the list. So the winner out of all of these, the Lions Defensive Player of the Year, and taking home his 3rd award of the evening, it's Charles Harris, our edge rusher. Again, completely well-deserved. It's been said enough times, but he was on his way out this league, and now he's put himself as one of the premier edge rushers on the free agent market just because of how well he has come in and played. And he just shows the embodiment of everything you want in Detroit. His run blocking has got noticeably better. His rushing has been good all season. So I just can't add any more, really. Well played, Charles Harris, Defensive Player of the Year for the Detroit Lions.
I think we might need to stop talking about Charles Harris because we're going to start putting his his checkup for next year the way we're carrying on. So we might need to just skip over this one and save ourselves a few quid.
I think it's fair though, because in fairness, he's saving us money because we can just send 3 awards to one house rather than having to ship them everywhere. So it's kind of it balances out.
And there actually are awards.
Yeah,
it must be Ants Glitter. Ants Glitter. That's what he gets in the post.
Oh, they get personalised hand delivery by me, so they're going to be really scared when they see a guy in a dressing gown.
You've got to walk up to the door like that. Yeah,
absolutely.
Is that a dressing gown?
It is, yeah, and tinsel off Christmas tree. It's the new in vogue fashion, and anyone who says otherwise is just a hater, and haters going to hate.
Can we 3D print a version of you in that as the award and then just hand that? You can dress up as that, hand them that as the award. And then
that would be sick.
We get good content out of that, I reckon.
I'm liking this
idea.
Actually,
if you grow out the beard just a little bit longer, it's Fitzpatrick, isn't it? It's the Fitzpatrick award.
He is cool as ice, that man. I'll fucking take that.
Can you imagine with that award, like if that actually happened, and it was like, we're on Hard Knocks next year with the Detroit Lions, and you just see Charles Harris's locker, like a little
three mini ants and up in the corner.
Three of them all lined up.
I'm putting this out there now. I want most stylized podcaster at the award show next year. I want that award there, and it's decided on the night.
Hey, you can't do it just on one day of the year. You've got to come with the outfits all the way through the season. You've got to get consistency in this league, man. So,
I'll bring the swag. I'll be
okay.
like Jamal Williams.
The gauntlet has been laid down. So, right, let's move it on to one of the most highly anticipated awards of the night, and it's Offensive Player of the Year, which is one of mine. So I better load the graphics because I never remember to do this when it's coming up. All right.
What do you want us to talk about?
No. I'm on it. Offensive Player of the Year. The nominees are Jared Goff. Now, that may come as a surprise to some, but as I say, down the stretch, you go 3-3 and 2-0 against teams 5 games above 500. And the way he looked, he's fully deserving of being nominated for this award. Amon-Ra St. Brown, breaking all the rookie receiving records out there for the Lions and really, vying for potentially being wide receiver 3 out of this draft, which is incredible, really, considering the wealth of talent in this draft at wide receiver, the 4th round pick. Incredible season. Penei Sewell, already rookie of the year for us, but he came out here and he's set the standards, really. Taylor Decker, now spent half the year out, but actually comes back and is ranked 10 places higher than Penei Sewell in PFS tackle rankings. He was 15th best tackle in the league, I think, or 17th best tackle in the league. And when you think back to what Taylor Decker did in years 2 and 3 of his contract, he was injured for much of those years and people were really kind of down on what he was capable of. And then he comes back from injury this year and he doesn't skip a beat. He's right into it. And finally, DeAndre Swift. Now, whatever you think of Swift as a pure running back in this scheme, there's no doubt that he was one of the weapons of this team with ball in hand, especially in the passing game. Several really long touchdowns from screen passes and swing passes. So it's a really stacked list, this, actually, considering our struggles on offense. The individual performances were really, really good. And the winner of Offensive Player of the Year is Penei Sewell. Penei Sewell came out Rookie of the Year, and he's got another award. So, well played to him. He absolutely delivered when it mattered most.
I think, yeah, he's the one guy who, as I said earlier, he's probably had an elite year all year in terms of the way he's played and the development he has shown. So, you'd only rule out guys like Decker because they've not played a full season, really. And the same with Amon-Ra. He's had half a wonderful season, but Sewell's done it since day one. So, you've got to give him his props for that. And Jesus, it's going to be scary going forward with him and Decker fully fit and healthy in this league. There's going to be a lot of defensive linemen getting pancaked next year.
He was such a key part of making this offense run as well, right? I mean, again, no pun intended, but when he started to really find his footing and open up those holes on the ground, it made a huge difference to our offense. And like I say, not the most glamorous of players, and he's not scoring touchdowns yet, although obviously offensive linemen did score a few late in the year, so there's hope. But yeah, he exceeded my expectations, especially early in the year, with how much he developed, and just so excited for what he's going to be delivering for the years to come.
Yeah, as we say with Jared Goff, first 0 to 9 weeks was shaky, but when you look at the play calling under Campbell, he's 11 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He put up a great number. He had a QB rating of 140 across those games, so he showed that we know what he's got in his locker. When he feels comfortable and he feels like he's on fire and he has those games where he's laser focused in. If you broaden that out, stretch to a 16-game season, probably does really well and he'd be very much in contention for this award. So next year, you could see really good things from him across the whole season.
I so thought you were going to use a different SH word to describe his first 9 weeks.
No, I thought I'm going to keep this PG. Like I say, this is a night for everyone.
Yeah. I mean, not much to really add on Sewell. It's all been covered, hasn't it? Obviously that, Amon-Ra St. Brown, hopefully he'll be in contention next year for this award a bit more. And Swift, we need to see, this was meant to be the breakout year for Swift. It didn't really happen. So fingers crossed that can happen next year. And Goff just, got over the line to do enough for us probably as a group not having a problem with him coming back as QB1 next year. So, but I think with that group, while there's positives to speak out on, I think there's also concerns as well, to be honest. So I think there's a few players there that need to step up and do a bit more next year.
All right. We'll move it on and talk about our MVP, Ryan McCluskey.
Yep, MVP, the most valuable player. This is the guy you simply can't live without. Like, if you're going to win a game or even compete, this is the player that has to be on the field and the one you will look to in those darkest moments. So you're going to hear a lot of names you've already heard before. We've got Lionel Messi up first. No, it's Charles Harris. The Ballon d'Ors, all the trophies. Like I say, had that breakout 7.5 sack year. He was right up there as graded as one of the top pass rushers. He had Amon-Ra St. Brown, 90 receptions across a very small portion of the season. You can see he collected that, broke all the rookie records. He only finished roughly 25 catches between Waddle and the Anquan Bolden record. So he was up there with, and he really outperformed at least 12 of those 17 guys taken before him. Sewell, Cristiano Ronaldo, like I say, he's vying for another award as well. Heartbeat of the line, played left tackle, played right tackle. He only had 2 real years in college, missed 18 months with COVID before he got to the pros. Youngest player to step on the field at the time, but he played like an elder statesman, played like someone of very much years experience, and he played above the floor. He doesn't think he played well enough. The ceiling, who knows how far it goes. We'll have a great year. Got Jared Goff, like, he was a mainstay on the offense, even when he had to come out. He played through injuries, he had pain, offensive line times. I'd say he overcame those troubles. He developed a calm pocket presence when he was a bit jittery at the start. And under Dan Campbell's play calling, those two got in a groove. Like I say, he went down that stretch of having a good 3-to-1 touchdown interception ratio. And throughout those last 6 games, very good at times. Pocket, he had poise, he had a laser arm, and he had momentum when he was working down the field and came up with some big drives and made some great throws when he was called upon. So big things to see next year. And then the other defensive player is Armani Oruwariye, the prospective cornerback one next year. He finished 18th in interception return yards. He came joint third in interceptions with Micah Hyne and 6, only beaten out by Trayvon Diggs and JC Jackson, which is very respectable for a guy that gives up a lot of yardage, but he takes that right back away because he's got a good knack for the ball. He's got great hands. He can sniff out an overthrown pass, gets underneath it, brings it down, changes the field, takes some momentum. And the winner of this award is, well, we've now got 2 3-time winners. It has to be Mr. Penny Sewell. He was the heartbeat of that offensive line. Like I say, he could not have played any better than was expected. He came into the year rusty, but he shaked that rust off real quick, and he looked like an integral part of that line, flipping between tackles. He did as he was asked, did as he was told. He never really questioned it or asked why. He just got out there, and he looks like someone that is going to be a future anchor of a phenomenal line that's got all the potential in the world. This guy's going to be here for 10, 20 years. He could be looking at a Hall of Fame player one day. That's the potential we're talking about.
If the question is, show me a Dan Campbell player, Penny Sewell is the answer.
Yep, he's got the attitude. He's got big balls, and he's got a mouth on him as well, which I like. Like I say, he will hold his own in the trenches and smack talking as well. He won't shy away from anyone.
I think now with the amount of awards that he's won here or whatever, it's going to be echoed across the whole of, Lions Nation, wherever, that everyone basically loves this kid. And you can pretty much tell now why they were so excited in that draft room when they got their man, basically. There was rumors that they put out an offer or something to the Bengals, thinking that they might want to take that, Chase, who obviously would have been a fantastic player to get in as well. But, if his heart was that set on Penei Sewell, then, he'd done everything he could to make sure he got him basically in, including throwing up a smoke screen. So fantastic, and, hopefully be talking about this guy for like you say, hopefully decades.
All right, time to transition into one of the more exciting parts of the evening. Then two more awards to go, and these are the ones that have been voted for by the fans. So since late last week, we put out a Google Forms poll, and we weren't expecting too many responses, to be honest. It's easy to do a Twitter poll, but to ask someone to go onto a kind of external link and go to the trouble of actually doing something more than just one click, like, I really didn't expect much here. And in the end, after only like 4 days, we had 242 votes, which I think is really good. Like, we have a look at Pride of Detroit and what they can get in some of their voting as a dedicated following and how long they've been around, and we can get that number of votes. So, like, I'm really chuffed with how people have really taken to that. So that's really great. And for our penultimate award, we go to Ryan Farden for the fans' moment of the year.
Yeah, well, as you said there, Matt, thank you very much to everyone who took the time to contribute to this. It's we really do appreciate everyone who gets involved over the other many platforms that we're on. So thank you once again. And the fans' moment of the year was between MCDC's first press conference, which I'm pretty sure we all remember for the kneecaps comment. The Amon-Ra St. Brown winning catch versus the Vikings to get us our first win of the season. And then that was followed by the war room reaction to Penny Saul draft. So, obviously we know what we think of Saul now. So that's been well covered. And then, of course, our man Saul again. So against Aaron Donald, where I think we all loved the fight and grit that he showed and not being scared against basically probably the best defensive player by the time he retires that's ever been. So, that bodes well for the future, obviously, with us. So the winner of this fans moment of the year goes to Amon-Ra St. Brown's winning catch versus the Vikings. And obviously, we'll all share our thoughts on that moment. But, Coach Dan Campbell, quarterback Jared Goff, the entire sideline and every Lions fan in the world just exploded with elation after we finally got that first win of the season. We finally ended up on the right side of one, snatching victory from the jaws of defeat in a game we actually technically was dominating for the majority. So, it had been a long and painful wait. I believe it was literally 364 days since our last win in Chicago, just after we got rid of Patricia and his clan. And, no doubt, and obviously it was, well overdue, but, with some of the other early games in the season when we came close to obviously getting some big wins against the Ravens and so on, and even the Vikings in Minnesota. But it was an emotional day, obviously, for everyone who was there, with the club dedicating the victory and the game ball to the Oxford community following the tragic shooting at a nearby school. So I think all in all, there was really good moments to go through there. But I think that overall, this was the really big moment for the football team during the season. So yeah, that's the winner of the year.
Yeah, I mean, all the moments are worthy of winning this. I actually personally wanted the draft room moment. Just Brad Holmes's woo sort of thing. He sounded like the nature boy in there, for goodness sake. But yeah, there's a worthy winner. I mean, it probably made me feel the best, so I'm not surprised.
Yeah, it was one of those things like everyone felt like everyone knew how that warm embrace felt like between Dan and Goff. Everyone would have loved one of those because it felt like a hug that went around the entire world. Like I said, the crowd was really low as well. Like, we're at a real low point in the season. The numbers were setting historic lows, so it felt like there was no one there to see it. But it felt like when it happened, when we got over the line, like there was just a release. It felt like a huge relief as well as excitement to get that off our back, get the first win of the season. Now the season really starts here. It was a defining point in the year, and it bought some breathing room for Dan. Like say with the media, like say he was so emotional in the presser. We saw the celebrations in the dressing room after the live. It was just a celebration, and it was a kid that finally showed up on the big stage as well. Like that was everyone like, yeah, there's another St. Brown brother in the league. Here I am. I'm here to take their mantle as the best. And it was just all uphill from there. And that drive just summed up everything you knew about Detroit football for like last 12 years. Coming from behind, snatching that from jaws, like I said, taking it, grasping it, and not leaving anything left for doubt. So it felt great to win it like we just know we do. Emotional roller coaster.
Just to break down those votes, so we had moment of the year, so it was the War Room one, the one that I really wanted to win. Only got 4% of the vote, got 10 votes. Third place was Saul in Aaron Donald's face, got 16% of the vote. MCDC obviously then came second, that was 24% of the vote, which means that Amon Ra's catch took it with 55% of the vote, which I think was a bit more split than I imagined it would be, because I think, you know, the first win for Dan Campbell, and it was delivered to him by that catch, so I really felt like it was a strong kind of candidate, but it didn't prove to be. It was actually fairly split all the way through, so there we go.
I think, you know, good moments, really good moments like that have been few and far between this year. It's been a very difficult year, having to deal with the aftermath of Quintricia and all that. So I think just to have these good moments in there, I think they, you know, I'm not surprised there is competition in there because there are some great moments, but the right one won. You know, that touchdown catch was officially, you know, legitimized Campbell's tenure here and is what, you know, take us on to much better things. So I think as a pivotal moment in Lions history, it will be huge. And we'll look back at this as a very sensible decision.
Typical that basically it came when we were dominating most of the game and we found a way for, what was it? I think Goff got strip sacked or something like that. And then you're thinking, what the fuck's going on here? You know, it's just,
yeah.
And, you know, that the fact that we had to win it again with literally no seconds left on the clock, last play, you know, it was just, like you say, a major roller coaster of a game. And this time we managed to get it done.
Yeah. Right. Let's move on to the final award of the evening. Tom's going to reveal our fans player of the year.
We made it, the big one, fans player. And I'm going to start with spoilers. So the fans have had enough of these multi-winners. And actually, they have drawn a line in the sand. And there will be no full-time winner at this year's awards. There is no Charles Harris in this nominees. There is no Penei Sewell. So we're going to have an interesting new winner for this. So fans player of the year, we're going to start off with Amani Oruwariye. Talked about him a lot already. Fantastic year. And obviously some of those interceptions as well were pretty spectacular. So lifting fans up along the way. The man who's going to win his first MVP award in 2 weeks' time at the NFL Honors than Jack Fox. We have Amon-Ra St. Brown, who obviously we've just talked about, who is a stud, especially in the second half of the year. Jared Goff, especially for his improvement in the latter part of the year as well, and almost going on that journey with Lions fans as we picked up wins. And then finally, Aleem the Dream McNeil to round things off. So the winner of Fans Player of the Year is Amon-Ra St. Brown. And again, it's hard to... big round of applause. Absolutely. It's hard to pick issues with it, to be honest. I mean, what a year he had, especially those last few games. 912 yards, 90 catches, 6 straight games with 8 catches or more. The fact he was being talked about in the same breath as the other top 10 receivers in Chase, in Waddle, in Smith. And not only was he NFC Rookie of the Month for that final month, but he is still the reigning Rookie of the Week, and he will be all the way through to September, having finally got it in Week 18. So, yeah, it was an absolute delight to watch him step on over the rest of the season. We heard murmurings in training camp that this guy was going to be special, and we maybe didn't see it as much early on. And then the offense really revolved around in these last few weeks. So, spectacular performance. Really excited to see where he goes from here.
I remember when we did, was it me, Matt, and Ant, we did his film breakdown, like say at the start of the year when we drafted him, like we were looking at like this guy, like he's a gadget, like USC used him in the slot, out wide, in the running back. I remember like the first 6 weeks of the year, I was just thinking like, this is frustrating. Like, we've got nothing to play for. We're not seeing this kid. He ain't getting any touches. Like, he had nothing to work with, like, for the best part of 8 weeks. Even with shoddy quarterback play, I was like, like, I don't want this to be like another year lost. So the moment things change, let's say the Minnesota game, and then he goes on his tearing path where he's got glue on his hands. Like, he barely drops anything from like weeks 10 to 17. Everything that hit his hands, he brought it in. And then he was positive as well. He didn't just tuck what he had. He didn't just get it and fall to the ground. Always looked upfield. Always looked to make yards after the catch or get out of bounds and conserve clock, because he's great working that middle to intermediate range where we really struggled all year, moving the chains. And he was someone that you could just look to. He had the trust. And those like last five, was it 5 of the 6 last weeks of the year, offensive rookie of the week nomination, like saying he didn't get one till the final week of the year. It felt like by the end of the season, just everyone was voting for him. Like, the kid deserved the award at least once. It was like a campaign. And in the end, he thoroughly deserved it because he had a great year. And all those receivers that like were taken before him, you can only really say that Waddle and Chase outperformed him. I would think he was far more valuable than Devonta Smith was to the Eagles. Like I say, he had a middling season, but he counted. He said every week, 17 guys were taken before me. I will make everyone regret that decision. And week by week by week, he had like a checklist. He was just axing them off like, I'm outperforming and doing better, and nothing will ever be good enough. And to see his dad at that Packers game and the partner wearing the half and half shirts, that's such a nice, cool moment. Like I say, him and his brother Equinemius. It's a great story, feel good. Like I say, because it's a great family as well. So we got a good kid here, and the sky's the limit.
Yeah, he works hard, trains hard, the embodiment of what you want here. Some guy who just wants to get better every single day and will put in the effort and the grind every single day. And, well earned. You saw it come through in the year. He didn't let it get him down. He just carried on grinding, carried on working hard, and he got his just rewards. And he'll continue to do so throughout his career.
Just having a look at his record on playerprofiler.com, which is one of my favourite resources in terms of comparing players. It was really, really simple to have a look at what's going on here. So, Amon-Ra St. Brown was the number 6 receiver in the NFL in terms of catch rate, which is just insane. In terms of yak, he was number 11. In terms of contested catch rate, he was the 9th wide receiver in the NFL in terms of contested catches. A couple of other ones good there. What was there that stood out to me? 13th in receptions in the NFL. I mean, what more can you say about the guy? He just puts in 100%, more than 100% effort every week. Like, you should not be able to dedicate as much time as he does on the field and off the field to his craft. Like, the guy plays beyond what his physical capabilities are. He shouldn't be able to do what he does, but he does. And he's going to be a massive part of this team going forward.
Yeah, I mean, like, the only shame, just a shame it took him a little bit of time to kind of get going. But I mean, obviously once he did get going, the most important thing is you saw the production, and I can't believe how he lasted that long in the draft. I mean, I know there's always, a few players every year that, you always end up saying, well, how come they didn't get picked up earlier? But, as you said, and who you compared him to there, and Waddle and Chase, this kid, watching him go next season is going to be very interesting. And, we look like we've got a right gem on our hands. And especially after all that talk of the Golladay situation, where he obviously went off to New York and didn't even get a touchdown during the whole of the regular season, being paid, I don't know, whatever it was, some amount of million to really do nothing. So, yeah, looks like a great bit of business. And hopefully we can get someone to kind of come in alongside him in free agency this year and, help him out even more, because I wouldn't like to see it all go on his shoulders next year. He needs still the time to develop and everything like that. So, just help the kid grow.
Absolutely. So there concludes the awards for 2021, boys. And you know what? Looking back at this season now and all of the positives that have come out of it, I can't help but feel good about what happened. I know we're 3-13-1, and I know that isn't meant to feel great, but it just feels like we are the only team in our division ascending. We're the only team that should feel really good about our chances next year.
Well, that's it. You have to judge a season not just based on your wins, but where you started as a team and where you ended as a team. And we started a team that was disjointed, lacking talent. Everybody's new here, new quarterback. We lost all our main receivers, all our staff are new, and we've ended the season with a team that's battling incredibly hard, where players are developing longer than they have in years, where the coaching staff have adapted to their mistakes and got better all the time. We have improved a lot in our position. I don't think any of us could really have asked for us to be in a better position this year. It would have been nice if one or two of the field goals had not gone in and we'd have had a few more wins. But on the whole, I think it's been very productive if you just stop and look at all the right issues and don't just look at the win column. So yeah, well played to them. It's been a hard year, and hopefully from going forward, times are going to get a little bit easier.
And when you look at it, the Jacksonville Jaguars owner was there at the start of the season saying about Urban Meyer, saying like, we've finally got it right here. I've got this one right. Look how that's gone, and he was like one of the biggest coaches, in college history. He's right up there. We've gone and hired Dan Campbell, who most people have never heard of, and a GM who most people have never heard of, who was found by, I can't even remember, a guy quite down the list, I think, in the recruitment of when they're going through the videos and everything, and everything just seems like we're the ones that are ascending, as you're saying, and we've gone about it a completely different way. And how often have we felt good about Detroit and looking forward to the next season? And it's been a long time coming, but yeah, I think we're on the right road now to success, please God. And the North goes through Detroit.
Put it this way, if you've convinced Ryan that you are going to do good things for this team, then that is the biggest endorsement you can get as a Lions head coach and a GM. And I mean that in the nicest way possible, because your standards are higher, and rightly so, probably, than the rest of us who sip the Kool-Aid all the time. So that's just what a good job he's done, that he's got you on board as well. Just need Martin now.
I'll get fair. We'll get Martin.
If Man United don't destroy his soul first.
Plus, as well, going forward, Detroit, we've also seen that we've made difficult decisions this year. We've eaten all that dead cap. We've swallowed our medicine in one go. We've eaten that shit sandwich, and we're looking much better this time next year than we were looking last year at this time. Carrying over all that dead weight from the previous regime, we got rid of the pieces of crap like Jamie Collins. Like, we binned him off. I don't care how well his PFF grade looked at the end of the year. He wasn't right here. He wasn't trying. So we made the more difficult decisions next year. And the roster, when you look at the bare bones, we'll have to make less decisions than the other teams in the North next year. Some of them are in cap hell. Some of them are losing big guys they can't afford to pay. We won't have that issue. We've got a kitty to work with next year, and we've got a lot more of the roster is a bit clearer. Every position looks more refined than it did a year ago. So we're in a much better position next year.
Yeah, I think coming out of last year, the only exciting thing, as I touched on earlier, was Jack Fox. And this year, we've got offensive guys who were on the team last year who have taken a step up. We had free agents who came out of nowhere and had their best seasons ever. We had rookies who started slow and then developed the whole way through. And now suddenly we're talking about them as potential stars in the league. And that's across the players. We've got coaches getting head coach interviews, and we're there saying, don't go, don't leave us. So across the entire part of this business, we've got things to be excited about. And that's only going to continue. I'm sure we'll have many arguments over the second overall pick, but ultimately we're going to get a high pick, which is going to be exciting. We're going to get mid-round guys, which I know Ant and Ryan, you'll be diving into, and we'll be excited about those too. So there's just so much to be positive about. And I was never personally that fussed on the record this year. And I know that lots of the rest of you weren't as well. It's about seeing positivity on the field, off the field. And I honestly don't think, record aside, things could have gone better this year, given all the things that did go against us in terms of injuries, etc. So Yeah, good year. On to the next one.
I predicted before the season, because I'm an idiot, that we go 9-8. Because I properly, was chugging. And I sit before you here saying to myself that this team was exceedingly unlucky. And all the metrics bear that out. Our expected win total is something like between 5 and 6 when we won 3. So that's certainly true. But if you flip the luck, because the luck's the only thing that's tearing us down there, right? You flip that luck, the team goes 8-9, and arguably, another ball here or there, and we're 9-8. This team with an average luck streak at the moment is a team that could go 500. Now, adding the fact that all of the teams in our division are getting worse, I think we should. I don't care about this already, but I think we should win the division next year. I really am already saying that. I think the Packers are going to be trash. They got no team. They either got Rodgers and no team, or they got no Rodgers and still no team. The Bears are tearing it down. The Vikings are tearing it down, and we're building it up. We got the draft picks. We got the money to spend. This team can do it. I really believe.
God, I need more Kool-Aid.
I definitely the bet's got to be for what is it, worst to first or whatever. So I mean, if that bet's available now, I would suggest going and chucking a few quid on it, because I bet you'll still get good odds. But yeah, definitely
10 wins next year. You heard it first. The Kool-Aid did its job. That's the point. Who won? Who got the record right this year? I'm guessing no one predicted a tie, but who was closest? Ryan got it banged on the year before.
I think Ryan also got it basically bang on this year. I think he said 3-14.
I think I was 4-13. I think I did predict that Cardinals win though, so you're welcome.
Come on, Ryan, join me on the 10-7 boat next year. Let's do it. Let's make it happen.
I think it's good. I think I'm expecting. I mean, and let's be honest, it's not the strongest schedule next year, and that's what we did mention this year. That this is a hard schedule this year, and we did compete in games that we thought that we were going to get proper spanked. So going into this season, we've got 2 New York teams. We got the Carolina Panthers, which no one knows what they're going to be like next year. Our road games,
they're going to be trash. The Panthers are going to be
road games are easier than our home games. Yeah, so it's going to be interesting. I really think that we should be looking at probably at least 8 wins. If you're looking at it right now, at least 8 wins.
Wow, that's proper chugging for you, man. I love that.
That's an overdose.
Yeah. Just another little bit of Lions news, or somewhat Lions news, that popped up while we've been chatting and doing the awards, is that, firstly, Ben McAdoo is the OC of the Panthers, which is why I say they're going to be awful next year. I mean, never mind the head coach, but the OC, I mean, oh my God. But we also have former Lions head coach is a finalist for the Bears job in Jim Caldwell. So he's made it to the final 3. And I think I've already expressed my opinion that he's the guy, for me, that could actually steady that ship the best. He's not a flashy guy, but he has some sort of baseline of results that he's going to achieve for you every single year. And that scares me with the Bears, because that team is ripe to be an absolute disaster, but it's got enough pieces that could be okay. And someone like Caldwell's going to get the absolute best out of that. He's going to be the guy that can ride the wave of disaster and actually make it passable before you pass it off to someone to elevate them again in a couple of years' time. He's going to make it better for them. And I really hope, personally for him, that he gets it, but from a Lions perspective, I really don't want him to get high.
Well, the Bears love mediocre records, so it'll be perfect for them. Sorry, Jim. I absolutely love you, but if
catching strays.
Sorry,
Wow.
Jim. I love Jim Caldwell, and I've made no bones about this. But if he's head coach of the Bears, then he's in the firing line. He's got to be. So, got to put that love aside for some cold hard truth.
Well, I mean, and the Bears fans, I mean, they're going to look at it. They're like literally the hardest fan base virtually to please anyway in Chicago. So they're going to look at it from their point of view. It wasn't good enough for the Lions. Lions reject. then, and he's been out the game 4 years, stuff like that. He obviously has, done some great stuff as a coach, but I don't think they're going to be very happy with that. And I think that you're going to hear a few people, show their unhappiness with that, and I think he won't get the job. I just don't see it.
I always liked Caldwell. He's a nice guy, and like I say, he may steady his ship. But when I look back at the time in Detroit, Terrell Austin was a much bigger impact than Jim Caldwell was on that 4-year stretch. He was the guy, not Caldwell, that took the Lions forward.
Yeah. 100%.
I mean, isn't Eberflus like big friends with the McCluskey's daughter or whatever? I think, if sort of nepotism goes to plan, then he'll be the hire because he's big friends with the leading family. And that would be funny because it's not what we're doing. You hire based on, opportunity. Someone who's deserved it, maybe not someone who knows the top family very well.
And Eberflus apparently is really good friends with Flores or something. So, there's a domino effect which could lead to Brian Flores in Chicago, which is also something else I don't want to see.
Yeah, I'd be more worried about that.
Oh, until he starts ragging on Justin Fields and destroying his confidence. That would be good.
I can absolutely see it happen as well. Like, I don't think he's going to perform any better than Tua has at this point in his career. I just don't think so. I think he's got a bit of development to do still. So,
well, not if they don't fix that line. That line's going to get him killed, quite simply.
Right, boys. Any final thoughts about this year for the 2021 Detroit Lions? All the awards that were given out. Any surprises for you? Anyone that you wish had won an award?
No, I think the fact that we've got a variety of candidates this year, shows just how good we were doing last year. As Tom said, it was all Jack Fox. And when your punter's taking home most of the awards, that is not a good year for you. So it's nice that we've got 2 3-time winners. We've got a few other guys. There's some categories that we couldn't fit enough people in. It's promising. So, just stick with these guys. Their track record says that they're going to do really well so far. You've got to go on the evidence you've seen with your own eyes. And everything is suggesting that they're putting together a very formidable team here, which as soon as next year, if we get free agency and the draft right again, we could be in the upper echelons of the division sooner rather than later.
All right, time to wrap it up. Next podcast is on Wednesday. It's the College Football Podcast review of the Lions defensive players in the Senior Bowl and the HCBU Combine analysis. Next episode on the main podcast, this time next week, Monday the 31st of January, it's the review of the Conference Championship games, chat about the NFL season as a whole, and Senior Bowl preview shows. So obviously, College Podcast a bit more in depth. We'll take a general look at the Senior Bowl, which will be happening later on that week, and then the following Monday will be the Super Bowl preview as well as a Senior Bowl preview. So lots of really exciting stuff to come. Don't forget us on our socials, Royal the Lions UK, YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Facebook group for worldwide fans, Detroit Lions fans, UK 15 worldwide. And on the web, royalthelionsuk.com. Something actually really exciting happening there. The last week and a half or so, we've been trying out a variety of writers to come on board with the site and really kickstart the movement there. So you can expect to see a lot more articles happening, imminently, and all the way through in the run-up to the NFL draft, which, as we all know, is our Super Bowl. Just remains for me to thank all my co-hosts, to Ryan, to Tom, and to Ant. Thank you for being here for my favourite night of the year. My name's Matthew Turner, and we'll see you next week on the Royal Lions UK podcast. Let's go, Lions. One pride.
One pride.